entering the gate of knowledge through Universitas Negeri Jakarta, you will experience a unique atmosphere where multicultural perspectives meet in academic practices. Located in the heart of the capital city of Indonesia, Universitas Negeri Jakarta, concerned with the environmental issues to promote urban and green campus. As one of the best public universities in Indonesia, Universitas Negeri Jakarta offers you with world-class programs enriched by the touch of local wisdom and supported with high technology facilities and disability accesses. Universitas Negeri Jakarta has played an important role in developing education, science, art, technology, and sport since 1964. Universitas Negeri Jakarta serves students of diploma, undergraduate, and postgraduate programs. They are deployed in 8 faculties and 1 postgraduate program. Teaching and learning activities are delivered in joyful atmosphere and meaningful interaction to promote student-centered and autonomous learning. For that purpose, Universitas Negeri Jakarta developed laboratory schools where various educational innovations are tried and tested to get best practices. In the sphere of sports sciences, modern sports stadium has been built, equipped with modern and high-tech sport facilities. To achieve Universitas Negeri Jakarta vision to go global, various international programs has been conducted comprising such as student mobility program, lecturers exchange program, and various international seminars. In line with this, Universitas Negeri Jakarta keeps on developing both international program and infrastructure facilities to achieve Universitas Negeri Jakarta vision to be reputable university in Asia.
This is the first step of a smile. The steps that taken together towards the same goal. We walk with determination to reach every corner of the country. Now and then, BRI, Pegadaian, and PNM strides on. Together, we bring changes as one entity. Changes that brings you closer to us. Paving the ways of progress everyone aims for. And bringing all their needs in one hand. This is our answer that makes everyone grow even bigger and brings meaning to everyone's smile.
Game terus. Sepeda terus.
Wah,
Daster terus.
Mas bobanya satu ya?
Boba terus. Terus. Terus, 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 terus. Terus, 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 terus. Kalau terus-terusan boros, kapan nabungnya? Yuk mulai nabung, nabung. Tabungan Mas di Pegadaian Digital aja. Ada promo mulai nabung hingga akhir tahun. Top up-nya bisa pakai kode promo gajian Mas yang ada di setiap bulannya. Kamu bisa dapat diskon hingga Rp250.000. Download aplikasi Pegadaian Digital dan mulai nabung dari sekarang. Yuk mulai nabung Mas sekarang untuk masa depan yang cemerlang.
Pegadaian.
Nabung terus ya!
Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi
Salam.
wabarakatuh.
Selamat
Waalaikumsalam
pagi.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Selamat pagi Bapak dan Ibu. Tadi konfirmasi beberapa 1 menit yang lalu kurang lebih narasumber kita akan segera memasuki ruangan. Bapak dan Ibu dipersilahkan untuk on cam yang memungkinkan dan kita masih punya 6 menit sebelum kegiatan pagi IC-MBA, workshop sesi penulisan artikel ilmiah akan kita mulai. Terima kasih Bapak dan Ibu. Good morning, Dr. Adamu Abbas.
Good morning, Adi. Dr. Adi, good morning. Good to
Thank
see-
you.
Yeah,
Yeah, good to see you again.
All right. Yeah, good to see you too.
And we still have around 5 minutes till we start our session. So I will officially open our session as part of the conference, the International Conference on Management, Business and Administration in 5 minutes. Hope you don't mind to wait.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Baik, Bapak dan Ibu, kita akan segera mulai sesi kita. Silakan on cam untuk yang memungkinkan on cam. Dr. Adamo, we can start in a moment, okay?
All right, thank you very much. Yeah. So let me share my slides.
Oh, wait, I will do a bit opening, if you don't mind. I will read your CV and then brief information about the session.
All right, okay, thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome in International Conference on Management, Business and Accounting, hosted by
Recording in
Universitas Negeri
progress.
Jakarta. And today we're going to have our first session. This is the workshop session on writing a journal article. Will be delivered by Dr. Adamo Abbas. So I will read the CV of Dr. Adamo Abbas in a moment. So Dr. Adamo Abbas was born in 1st March 1984 and then now live in Malaysia as part of working in Curtin University, Malaysia. And he finished PhD in communication with the thesis titled The Attendance and Consequences of Internal Crisis Communication, a Structure Model Examination. And then Master in Public Relation, also Postgraduate Diploma in Mass Communication. He published so many articles, and then one of it is our organizational culture and privacy concerns still relevant, constructing a cybersecurity model for educational sector, Curtin Malaysia Sustainability Research Grant as part of the research grant. And then the article on purchasing behavior of international tourists in Malaysia using green marketing tools, theory of planned behavior perspective. And then one of other article is about managing digital marketing communication of coffee shop using Instagram. And until now, as I said before, Dr. Adamo Abbas working in Curtin University, and we are really grateful here in Indonesia to have you as our speaker today in an international conference on management, business, and accounting. And today we will have the session on writing a journal article that focus on winning a journal article where most of the researchers or writers found a rejection after the first round of review. So we're gonna have like tips and tricks and then the experience from Dr. Adamo Abbas how to deal with that. And hopefully this is Dr. Adamo Abbas, this is mostly is the doctoral student, not only from Universitas Negeri Jakarta. We have from different universities that join our conference here, hosted by Universitas Negeri Jakarta. So hopefully this session we are gonna help all the participants to build the manuscript. They some of them ready with their sample of the manuscript that gonna be submitted for the full paper for this conference. So it might be very happy if you can look at it and then having your feedback on the writing. It will be really helpful for them. And then so I think that's all. Now I will hand over to you for this session, and Dr. Adamo Abbas, the time is yours. You are still muted, Dr. Adamo Abbas. I'm so sorry.
All right, so thank you for reminding me. So thank you very much, Adi, for inviting me as speaker in this conference. I'm happy to be here. And of course, I'm happy to meet all the participants, even though it is online. And I hope we will have a fruitful session together. And I believe I will be able to hold your attention for a couple of hours, okay? So thank you for being here. Let me share my slides. All right, I believe you can be able to see my slides from your end clearly.
Yes, it can be seen clearly.
All right, okay, thank you very much. All right, so once again, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Adi, for the introduction. Today, my session will be on how to write an article, a journal article. And as Adi has well introduced me very well, I believe. Yeah, so just to highlight, yeah, my name is Adamu, and then I work with Cotton University. I'm currently in the Faculty of Business. So for today, here are our menu, that is the topics that we are going to look at today. Firstly, maybe a brief highlight on my research, and then we are going to have a short Menti session. Then I will move into the segment of the workshop, which is on what we look at research question, structure of a paper, and what are the expectations from editors, and then how to manage text rejection, ethical consideration, which is very important, and then we have a Q&A session. So there we will be able to, I will be able to look at your papers, maybe even ideas you can share with me, and I can give you feedback on how to improve them. All right, so a brief highlight here. Yeah, so Adi has highlighted most of it, but just to maybe bring to your attention few other aspects of my experience. Currently, I'm the HDR coordinator of here in the Faculty of Business. So most HDR in terms of PhD, Masters by Research, I am the one that handle their admission and of course their enrollment. So I'm currently the HDR coordinator. And I am also a research cluster leader, where we deal with research related to marketing, that is sensible marketing, and smart cities, that is tourism related studies. So we deal with all these researches in my current research cluster. Yeah, I have a couple of publications in Web of Science, in Scopus, and then other peer reviews journal. Yeah, so just to share with you again, part of my effort, that is particularly during my PhD journey, for those that are doing their PhD now, I was able to publish 5 papers from my PhD, even though some do publish more, but 5 papers from PhD thesis is something good. So you can aim for that. I was able to publish in 3 high-ranking journals from my PhD thesis, and that is the aim of PhD. At least at the end of your PhD, you should be able to publish in one of the or 2 of the most reputable journals in your area. Let researchers know what you have done during your PhD and what is the new thing that you have contributed to the literature. So please aim for this, at least minimum of 3 articles, and make sure that 1 of your or 2 of your articles are published in the leading journals in your area, so that people will know what you have done during your PhD, what you have done, okay? And I also have currently a PhD student who is also currently working on his thesis. He's about to start his data collection. So here is some of my responsibilities. That is apart from the teaching responsibilities and research responsibilities, I'm also an editor-in-chief for the Journal of Digital Marketing and Communication. It's a new journal. The journal is just 1 year old, not very old, if we can say, but it's a good journal. A journal that has consistently over the few or just a year old, but we're able to have some editions, almost 2 editions now. We have 2 editions, so which is interesting. So it's a journal, maybe you can go search for it, and maybe in the future you may target it as maybe for your conceptual ideas. You can publish your conceptual ideas. Okay, and then I'm also the editorial board member of the International Journal of Strategic Communication. So this is one of the leading journals in my area of study. As Adi have already mentioned, I did my PhD and master's basically specializing in public relations. So International Journal of Strategic Communication is one of the leading journals in my area. So I'm now currently an editorial board member in the journal. Yeah, so I also have several research grants both international research grant. Currently, we are working with colleagues on one is already completed, and another one with a colleague in Brunei. We are working on education. That is the impact of COVID-19 on education, particularly the response of lecturers. How do lecturers manage for those that have used hybrid learning? What is the impact of hybrid learning? Okay, in terms of you as a lecturer, how do you find it effective, and how do you see engaging with students in different platforms, that is both physical and online? So it's an interesting study that we are on, and we hope to publish the findings to lecturers. It will be really helpful. And I have a couple of, part of national grant. Now we have a new, what is called Fundamental Research Grant, FRGS, with my dean. We have a recent research. And then, of course, I have several internal grants, almost 4 internal grants. So here is my, you can see my global citation. I just want to share some of the, my research highlight in terms of, citation over the years. So slowly and then gradually is something that grows over time and with the level of your contribution. So far, I am seeing also progress in terms of the, that is in terms of my citations. And of course, that is, I see how visible am I as a researcher. So it's something good and something to look at. Okay. All right. So here are some of my studies, some of my researches that have been published in some of the leading journals, particularly some in my area. And Adi has already mentioned some of them. Particularly, you can see, maybe it's just for me to highlight the ranking, so which is very important. You can see this journal is published in Q1, which is high quality journal. When we talk about Q1, we are talking about journals that are at the top, the best journals in the area. So this is one of the journals. You can see Q1. And again, I have also had another Q1. And of course, I have another Q1s, but these are just the ones that I want to share. And then I also have Q2. And you can see another ranking because that is Cotton Malaysia is an Australian university. So we use Australian ranking. So based on Australia, there is also a journal ranking for business schools, which is called ABDC. So we also check the rankings of our journals based on the ABDC, which is also highly reputable for journal to be ranked in ABDC. So all the journals that I have published, you can see they are ranked B. A is the highest quality, but again, B is not also bad, it's also a good quality. When you publish in a B ranking journal, of course, you also have a very good point. So both journals that I have published, you can see are ranked B, which is very good, and is something good to look at when publishing. It's not that you publish, but where did you publish? What is the quality of the journal? And that will determine the contribution. Okay, so before we go deep into the session, let me quickly, I just want to share. Just want to share. Yeah, all right. I believe you can see my screen.
Yes.
All right. I just want to a quick survey that I want to carry out. Is totally anonymous. All you need to do is you go to menti.com. Can you see this? I'm highlighting it. Menti.com. Once you click on menti.com, go online. That is on your browser. Type in menti.com and then enter this code. This is the code. And then you can be able to respond to this question. Which of the journals, which of the publisher have you published an article with? So anyone, maybe you can see the first one is Elsevier, the second one is Emerald, the third one is Wiley, the fourth one is Sage, the fifth is Taylor and Francis, Sixth is Nature Publishing Group, and then others not listed. If you have published in other journals, publishers not listed, you can just click on others. And if you have not published, you can tick the last one. So if you have published in anyone, all right, that's very good. I can see some responses. Feel free, it's totally anonymous. Nobody will know who is responding once you go through. Yeah, so maybe just 2 minutes. It's already almost 1 minute. So an additional minute if I can get more responses. Here I only have 3 responses. Only 3. Only 4 responses. Yeah, so it's totally anonymous. Nobody will know who is responding. Feel free to just select, just to know your. All right, so I think because of time, yeah, I can see we already have 6 responses. So maybe if you can help me also, I want to, let me see the other. Yeah, so this is a word count. Just feel free to let me know your number of publication if you can remember. Okay, that's good. That's good. I can see a response. Okay, that's good. 4. Oh, okay, none. That's good to know. All right, that's good. Oh, who is typing this 3? Okay, so I believe, just to, so thank you for the response. So let's proceed. Yeah, so let's proceed. You can respond to it anytime. It will be online. So let's proceed with our seminar. Okay, so thank you for the response. Just want to know, yeah, your experiences in terms of publishing in different publishers. All right, why write an article? Okay, this is a very important question. Why should you write an article? You need to ask yourself, because even if you are doing a PhD, you will be thinking about, why should I write an article? Why don't just I do my research, then submit my thesis and then get my PhD and then go away? What is the need of the research? Well, so one thing is that writing an article is a means of disseminating your research, that is to a specific target audience. You are not doing a research to keep it for your own self or for your own personal use only. Research are mostly done to contribute toward the betterment of the society or toward the betterment of an area of study, a discipline. So we do research mainly to disseminate our findings to a specific target audience that is within your area of study or within a particular community or within a specific societal issue. So we need to target, research must have a target audience, and you need to disseminate it. And again, it's an opportunity for you to establish a publication record. That is, you have published something as an individual. Publication is very good. It's something that stays forever. So it's good to have to establish a publication record. And of course, when you are finding a job, particularly for those that are interested in academics, one of the requirements of getting a job in an academic environment is publication. So when you have a publication, it is easy for you to get employed because it shows that you are someone that is keen to learn. You are someone that is keen to read. Lecturing or working in the academic environment requires that is disseminating knowledge. And you cannot disseminate knowledge when you don't read. And the impact of reading is in publishing. When you read, you have ideas, and when you have idea, you debate on those ideas. And then of course you want to share it with others. So that is true publication. So a lecturer that doesn't do any publication is to some extent seen as more like a static lecturer, meaning the lecturer to some extent don't do some further research to know what is happening in his or her area. So that is why it is mostly given attention when it comes to employment, particularly employing fresh graduates to the teaching environment, and even for promotion purpose. As a lecturer, you want to move to a senior lecturer level or to associate professor, you need publication, because that is evidence that you are reading, you are teaching effectively, because you do research to teach your students. So, and then part of the readings that you are doing will make you to write, because you will have so many ideas from reading. And the more you read, you need to be updating yourself so that your student can stay up to date with what is happening in your area. So that is why it is a very critical requirement when it comes to promotion. And again, it is also important to win a research grant, because nobody will give you a money to conduct a research if you don't have a record of publications, because that will show that you have the skills of conducting a research. You have the skills of identifying what is a research problem. So winning a research grant, which is also very important for academics and even non-academics, okay? Winning a research grant depends on what? Publication. It helps you in getting a research grant, okay? And if you get the research grant, it doesn't mean that is all. You also must publish the findings of that research grant. Although some institutions may give you their own money to conduct a research, but they may want it for internal purpose. So there are instances where you will conduct a research for an institution, but they want it for their internal purpose. So, but most of those researches are applied research, not basic research. But if the funding is for basic research, the outcomes of your research must be published. So that is also a necessity. So that means you must publish if you are applying for a grant. And then you want to contribute to scientific or intellectual debates. So of course, as a researcher, as a lecturer, you know, as an academics, as a PhD student, you also, the readings that you are doing is to contribute to debates in your area, intellectual debates in your area, okay? So how do you contribute? It's not just you do the research, you know what the theories are in your field, you know what is lacking in literature in your field, but then you keep it, you just finish your thesis and keep your thesis without publishing it. That means you are not contributing to the intellectual debate. So you also need to contribute, because PhD, masters by research are all what? Sources of intellectual development, okay? And then from there you get all this, a lot of ideas that you need to share your own perspective about the discussions. So it's also why we write an article. And then your research has implication for change, okay? Because so many researches also have implication for change. For example, you are doing your research on, or you are interested in how, youth participate in politics, okay, and then maybe you just conduct a study, maybe you just share a questionnaire to a couple of youths in your area, or even maybe your students, to know how do they feel about political participation. And you realize that maybe they are more interested in online discussion on debates on politics, okay, they prefer online debates, online discussion. So maybe your study may bring in a new knowledge, because normally we believe that political discussions should be more of a public discussion in public spaces as well as in traditional media. But then if you realize that the youths prefer discussion on social media, then it may be something new that you think it has implication for change, meaning politicians and political actors need to now start looking at how these social media spaces can be used to change or to attract the youths to participate in politics. So your study may have implication for change, either social science or sciences. So it's also a reason to conduct a research. So here are some content of a research paper. The basic content, every research paper should be able to have these components, okay? A title, author name, and institutional affiliation, abstract, keywords, introduction, literature review section, methods, clearly presented, results, discussion, conclusion, reference, acknowledgement, biographical sketch, and then appendices. So this is the basic structure. We are going to look at them one after the other, okay? So this is the basic structure. Every paper should have this component. It's very important. Okay? So then having those components doesn't mean automatically you are good to go. No, you need to know that the formatting of the paper, again, depends on the journal. The formatting of the paper depends on the journal. The formatting, what I mean by formatting of the paper depends on the journal, is that in terms of in-text citation and references, every journal have its own style. That is in-house style. Some will follow APA, some Harvard style, so different references style. Okay, so that is why you need to visit the journal website to know what is the formatting. Apart from having the content, as I'm shown in the last slide, you need to be aware of the formatting. The formatting is also a different ball game. It's something that comes from the journal in terms of even the arrangement of tables, figures. All this depends on the journal. As I mentioned, APA have their own table format, as well as Harvard have their own also table, how to draw the table. Okay, what limits? Some journals have 800, 8,000, some have 6,000. So it's also based on the journal. Okay, so it's very important to visit it. Font size, spacing, all these are determined by the journal. The journal will decide on which format they should follow. And that is why it is very good. You have to visit the journal website to know about the formatting. The content is general. Okay, every article, it's only a few articles that I have come across, particularly the law, related to law. Their structure to some extent is a little different, but most articles have the standard format that I show in the last slide. So you can see here is Taylor and Francis author's guide page. So you can visit their page to get idea, okay, about this formatting of your paper. If you like, you can, if you have a specific journal in mind, you can just go to the journal website straight away and check the formatting. But this is for the general Taylor and Francis articles. So you can go to the website and get some insight. You can also see for Elsevier, you can download it. That is, the author guide is there in even PDF. You can download it and go through it to see what are the formatting of papers that will be published in their journal. So the website is there. You can open it anytime. How to select the right journal. Okay, so this is also very important to know how do you select the right journal, because it's not just you send your article to any journal. You need to know it's very good to know which journal should I target. So the first thing that my experience, and of course, several seminars that I have attended, also I had several other scholars talking about the same thing. So one important thing to look at when selecting a journal is to look at your reference list. Your reference list will give you an idea of which journal should you select, because reference list mostly have citations. Your study should be able to cite people that are doing research in your area of study. So you can look at those that you have cited a lot, more than 2-3 times in your study. Where do they used to publish their articles? Which journal, the names of the journal. Okay, once you check, you will be able to know that, oh, okay, this will be the best journal because article related to my study is also published in that journal. So reference list is very important, particularly the papers that you know your ideas mostly comes from. You draw your ideas from those particular papers. So it's very good to submit your paper to those journals. They may be the best journals to submit your paper because that is where your audience, those that will be interested in your study, usually publish and read articles. So it's good for you and for your progress as a researcher in your field. And then you can also ask researchers in your area. Okay, and this is about, researchers in your area, maybe your supervisor. Well, supervisor, of course, will be there to help, and even lecturers in the department that you are studying, you are doing your research, that is, you are doing your PhD or master's. And even not only for PhD and masters, even as someone like me, like I have already done my PhD for a very long time. But when I want to publish, I still discuss with colleagues that are in my area of study. I discuss with them. I ask them, where should I publish this article, or which journal do you think I should target? So we discuss about journals. Okay, so it's good to discuss, to ask people in your area, and sometimes even show them maybe a sample of your study or explain maybe your research idea. They can be able to tell you or advise you on the journal that will be suitable for your publication. Or you can search for rankings of journal rankings in your discipline. There are so many database, for example, Skimago, people use it nowadays. Okay, because they used to rank journals according to disciplines. So you can go to Skimago, you can search so many other databases, okay, to know the ranking of journals in your area and select the specific journal you want to target. And then you can also discuss with your co-authors. If you have 2-3 co-authors, then you can discuss with them, hello guys, where should we publish this article? So you will have some suggestions from them. Yeah, so but the key, to me, my advice is for you to particularly look at your reference list, because that is where you will be able to know where will be the suitable place to publish. Your idea should come from all those references, particularly the ones that you have cited more than other studies in your paper, the ones that are behind the idea. So those journals will be the suitable ones. Once you submit your article to those journals, it's easy for you to get a review, or it's easy for them to accept and send it for review. Okay, the editor may accept it and send for review. So what to write? Again, this is also important, having an idea of the publication, where to get the journal. What should you write? Writing itself is also, knowing what to write is also very important. So again, this is an advice that is very important for the PhD and master students, and as well as even myself, and us, the lecturers, all of us that are lecturers here, attending seminars on conducting research. There is no time you will say that, oh, I have know everything, so I don't need to attend seminar or workshop on research and writing academic papers. So these are very important avenues, because new techniques are coming up every day, new softwares, new ways of doing research are coming up every day, and which are even more recognized than what we know previously. Okay, so if you attend seminars and of course, academic writing workshops is very helpful for you to know what to write. That is, have an idea of writing research, particularly in the recent days where we have many modern ways of doing research, collecting data. Attending conferences, which is also very important, just like the conference we are attending today. You can see it's a very key opportunity, because in a conference, you will be able to listen to different researchers from different areas, and even in your area, talking about research problems. What are the challenges in the area of their area of studies? So from there, they will share with you different areas of that maybe a researcher can explore. So attending conferences is another source of, of getting or knowing or having an idea of what to write. You get an idea because the researchers will share a lot of, they will share a lot of ideas with participants. And that is the essence of a conference, mostly, that is to disseminate information about research. What are the research problems? What are the solutions that were found? And what are the prospective or prediction on the possible challenges that may come up? And then you can quickly start working on the future section. And then having discussion with academic colleagues and highly experienced researchers. Yes, academic colleagues is very important. Discussing with them about research and even the surrounding area of study, that is your area of study, having discussion. Sometimes you end up coming up or highlighting so many problems that can also be researchable, okay, that may be of importance for researchers to really identify what is the problem and how to address them. So discussion with academic colleagues is highly relevant. And in conferences, I think this also takes place a lot in conferences. Mostly a conference have a gathering of different researchers. So it's a good opportunity to discuss. And then through those discussions, you share a lot of research ideas, you highlight a lot of challenges that you foresee in the area of study. So it's also a good opportunity to share idea and also think about collaborative research. It's even an opportunity to collaborate, because through conferences, I also was able to collaborate with so many researchers. So conference is a very good opportunity, okay, for discussion with colleagues and highly experienced researchers that have already been publishing in the area. All right, so yeah, so having, that is, the key aspect of writing an article or doing a research is what? Identifying a research problem. A paper must address a specific research problem. You call it research question, you can call it research problem, you can call it research gap, okay? So this is the key problem that you need to address in your paper, okay? Research gap or research problem or research questions. This is what people want to see in your paper. So a good paper must address a specific problem, okay? For example, currently, I'm doing a research with my colleagues, and our research is on chatbots. We are looking at how chatbots is impacting public relations in organizations, because public relations department mostly deals with people, building relationship with people and organizations. But nowadays we are having chatbots building that relationships, because once you go to the website of the organization, a chatbot will pop up, ask you questions, you reply, maybe you ask the chatbot questions and the chatbot provide you with solutions, okay? And sometimes if they can't, they will collect your email and link you up with a real human being. So this is something that is impacting the practice of PR. So this is an area, it's a problem, okay, that we want to address. We want to look at what is the impact of this relationship that chatbots are creating with real people, and then what is its impact or implication on the practice of public relation and the PR departments in organizations. So you can see it's a specific research question. It's a research question that needs to be looked at. Chatbots and relationship management, Okay, what is its impact? So a research paper, okay, a research idea, even a PhD work should address a specific research problem, a research question. You have to be clear about it, okay? And if your study explores several or different research questions, you can write many papers. Some studies may address many research questions, okay? Then you can write maybe more than 2 papers. And that is why for PhD, particularly for PhD, is an opportunity for you to write so many papers. Okay, for example, if you are looking at, this is an example, that is the impact of maybe internal communication on employee knowledge of COVID-19. You know, using, that is you develop a questionnaire, maybe a new questionnaire to measure maybe knowledge of COVID-19, okay? So you can publish 2 papers from this. You measure the impact of internal communication on the knowledge of COVID-19, and then you also publish a paper on how you develop the measurement of knowledge of COVID-19. You can develop it. So this is an opportunity for you to publish 2 papers. So this is just an example. So from a PhD work, you can publish 3, 4, 5 papers. In fact, some publish more than that. Okay, so but the key point is a research problem. You have to have a specific research problem. So you can see here, these are the fundamental elements of a research problem. Okay, specificity, okay, specificity. How specific it is. You have to be very specific. What are you looking at? In my own case, I just shared with you, I work on chatbots and relationship management. So I'm specific. I want to look at how chatbots maintain relationship with human beings, because chatbots are from artificial intelligence, right? And then this artificial intelligence tool is not a human being. How do we build trust or build a sustainable relationship with chatbots? So I'm specific, looking at relationship, not just saying that, okay, chatbot, the use of chatbots. For example, I can say something like, I want to look at the use of chatbots in public relations. Then people will think about the use of chatbots in public relations, in what aspect? But I'm specific, how it helps in building, that is in managing a relationship. So you have to be specific. And originality or novelty, is it a new area? Is it something new? Is it something that has not been done? So in my own case, there is lack of studies. Only few studies have looked at chatbots and this relationship management. Few, or in fact, to some extent, I can say there is scant to see an empirical study. So that is originality. It's something original. It's something that has novelty, something that is new, because there is lack of understanding of how the relationship is sustained, is maintained between the organization and their stakeholders through the chatbots. So originality, novelty is very important, okay? And you can see it says what the question should be of interest to other researchers who work in the area. So you have to know that that research problem is of interest to researchers in the area. So in my the example I shared, I believe it should relate with you very well to see that it will be of interest to the researchers in the area. But for those that are doing applied research, sometimes it's challenging to make it appealing. That is applied research, more of an industry looking at a problem, just looking at one organization and then trying to help the organization in solving a problem. Maybe an organization that have a client, okay, or helping a client, I mean, okay, maybe maybe some let's say Air Asia. Air Asia may want to study how people maybe enjoy or experience their aircraft, their flight from maybe KL to, or from Indonesia to KL and so on. So it's more like it's an applied research. You are helping them to know the experience, how the customers experience the flight from one destination to another. So that is more of an applied research that is only applicable to Air Asia. You cannot apply that to Ethiopian airline or to Lufthansa or to another another airline. You can only apply the results to specific industry, which is, or to organization, which is Air Asia. So applied research to some extent is not that appealing because you are just contributing to the organization, helping the organization to solve a specific problem. So that is why to some extent it's not as appealing to researchers as a basic research. All right, so once the research question, once you are able to have a clear research question, a research problem, as I have highlighted, then writing your paper becomes very easy. Because the major thing is having a research problem. You have identified a research problem, then embarking on your research, okay, and that is part of the writing a paper, okay, will be very easy for you. It will be very easy. It won't be something that is very challenging. Once the research question is clear, specific, and there is originality, something new. All right, so the first aspect of a paper is the title. The title is what attracts even the editor himself, because editors receive thousands of articles, hundreds of articles. Sometimes on a daily basis, they receive 10, 20, a lot of articles. So they don't have time to read something that is not even relatable, something that is not attractive, something that is not novel. So the decision to read your article is dependent on your title. Because they receive a lot of articles, what is the essence of wasting time on an article that from the title you can be able to know that this is just a, some will call it a crap. So they will just throw it to the trash because it doesn't have any relevance. So you have to have a title, that is very appealing. And the title of your article is is the first indicator, right? It has to be concise, accurate, and informative. You have to make sure that your title is not too long, not like a sentence, a full sentence, maybe 10 words, 8 words, 10 words is 10 words article to 15 words article should be fine. That is the title, should be fine. It has to be concise, accurate, and informative. From the title, somebody should be able to know that this is something attractive, something interesting. So title has to be concise, accurate, and informative. And of course, the relevant, avoid using abbreviations and formulas on your title. That is very important. Abbreviations are not good. So don't use abbreviations or formula on your title. This is very important. Then authors, this is the second aspect. Okay, after the title, which is one of the key, what will attract the editor to go in and read the article. And not only editor, maybe if the journal is even approved, for example, in the journal, again, readers will be attracted from your title. Once the title is attractive, they will be interested in reading the article. So from the title, it is the next thing is authors, okay? So mostly when you look at the setup of authorship in an article, it starts with the highest contribution. Who has contributed in the paper the most? Okay, so it starts with the highest contribution, then it follows toward the list. That is the second person that have contributed and the next person, irrespective of an academic status. Maybe you are a professor and then your student is doing the research, or you are the director of a particular research department and your student is doing the research, or a lecturer is doing the research and you are the dean, and so on. So all this doesn't mean that because you are you have that academic status, you must be given the first authorship. No, it has to be based on contribution. Who has contributed the best? And this has to be decided from the beginning. That is from the beginning of the research. That is when you sit down, maybe you are colleagues in the same department. You want to work on a research. So who is going to be the first author? It has to be decided from the onset. This is something that should be decided, not at the end, where it will become a conflict. So it's a decision that has to be taken at the beginning. I have collaborated with many of my colleagues, and that is what we normally do. Okay, let's apply for this grant, or let's do this research, but who is going to be the first author? So we decide, and who will be the second and third author. So once that is clear, then we proceed. And then for a PhD work or for a master's work, a supervisor should always be the co-author. Okay, the researcher is the student. So the student have to be the first author. So that is the sequence and that is the general formula. Supervisors are the second authors and then the students are the first author. The language editors, field workers, and statisticians are not co-authors. Yeah, because sometimes you have language, someone that helps you in proofreading the article, and you may be thinking, oh, this person has contributed to this article. Why don't I put him or her as a co-author? Or maybe field workers, someone that helps you in collecting the data, maybe conducting interview, distributing survey questionnaire, and any other aspect of field works, okay? Maybe you will think, oh, this person has done something in this study. Why don't I add the person in the authorship? So, and again, statisticians that helps you in statistical analysis. So all these groups, language, field workers, and the statisticians are not co-authors. You should not add them as co-authors in your paper, okay? They don't contribute, they have no contribution. Then give contact details of corresponding author. You should decide on corresponding author. Who will be the correspondent when you submit the journal, the article to a particular journal? So who will be the corresponding author? The corresponding author has to be, in many cases, the person that will submit the article to the journal. So you also decide on that, so that whenever there is any communication with the journal, the corresponding author should do it on behalf of all members. All right, so after the title, the authorship, names of authors, then the keywords. This is also very important. Your article must have keywords, because these keywords help in the ranking of your article, even on data, particularly Google Scholar and other databases. The keywords help in attracting, that is, capturing your article. So keywords are very important, and mostly keywords in your article, for example, those that are quantitative, using quantitative method, their variables can be the keywords. And then for qualitative study, they can also use key concepts that emerge, or even key themes, to some extent, key themes that emerge in your research can be used, because mostly qualitative focus on keywords. And then for those that are in, for example, finance, that use secondary data, so they can also pick keywords from their literature review and then analysis. So all these, keywords are very important, and mostly they should be not less than 5 that highlight what are the most important aspects, that is, concepts in your research. Okay, and it helps in the discoverability of your paper. So keywords are very important. Then the next aspect is abstract. So abstract provide a short summary or a brief summary of your entire article. And some people basically read abstract. They don't even go into detail in the article. And even from my experience, what I do before I do read the whole article, particularly when I was doing my PhD, any article I pick, I try to read all the article. But now, with experience and understanding research better than I was during my PhD, I only look at the abstract. From the abstract, I will be able to decide whether to move on to read the article or not, because the abstract will tell you the story of the entire research, okay? So abstract mostly comprises of 3 aspects. That is what your research is about. You briefly start by telling people that your research is on, for example, chatbots, which is having lack of consideration in maybe public relations, something like that, public relation research, just an abstract idea, okay? Then it should tell us what is the problem, that is, what is your research all about, which is the problem, and then what method have you used to address that problem? What methodology? I use survey, I use secondary data, panel data, I use qualitative study, I use mixed method, I use content analysis. So any method that you have used, you should clearly state it. Then what are your main findings? The findings of your study should be there. So if you provide this in abstract, that means the entire story of the article is already in the abstract. So that is why abstract is very important, okay? It expresses the key point of your research clearly and concisely. And you can see it's the primary element of your work that readers will come across. So abstract have to be clear and provide a summary of your research. These three things that I have highlighted are very important in any abstract. You have to look at them, what your research is about, what method you have used, and then the findings. Once this is in the abstract, then everything is clear. Okay? And roughly it can be around 300 words, but some journals will only ask for 200 words. But it can be around 300 words, depending on the journal. Some journal will tell you to just have 200 words in your abstract. All right, so after your abstract, the next part is your introduction, the introduction section. So an introduction section contextualizes your argument in a broader academic discipline. Introduction section is just like, for those that are in your doing research currently, that is PhD students and master's students, your introduction basically is your problem statement, okay? So introduction is where you contextualize, you bring in the problem and put it in an argument based on what previous studies have done, okay? That this is the problem. For example, in my own self, I'm looking at chatbots used for relationship building. How effective are they in that is helping organization to build relationship? So I'll build my argument based on past studies. Past studies have focused more on what? Traditional approach, how the PR practitioner write media releases, send out messages through media releases, engage with people, maybe when they, through organizing events, through face-to-face meeting, through stakeholder engagement programs, okay? But now they are not looking at chatbots. So I contextualize my argument that this is what has been done previously, but now the chatbots have not been given attention. So you have to contextualize your argument within the field. What is the field currently talking about, and what is left? So what is left is what you want to address. You know, that is your argument. So state why the problem is need to be addressed. You know, that is just what I have said. And state what is what lacking in the current literature. So it's the same thing, you know, what is lacking? You talk about all the studies that, the area that researchers in your field are focusing on, and then what is lacking. So you state the objectives, okay? So this is very important section in your research. And as you can see, you need to have something new to say, as well as fully understand and reference what has been done. So something new to say, that is what the reviewers are looking for. What is new that you want to see? So for example, here we talk about what reviewers are looking for, what they want to see in your introduction section, okay? They want to see the trace of previous work on the subject that builds upon the problem. So you have to move on to talk about previous work. Let me still give you, because I believe it will be helpful if I'm sharing my experience on my current study. So now what previous studies are saying about chatbots, particularly is about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is impacting the practice of public relations. In fact, it is changing the function of PR departments in organizations. Organizations, PR departments now are seeing a lot of changes because of the artificial intelligence. We have social media monitoring tools, so many other things, which I believe only those that are in PR may get the gist, okay? So there are so many tools that are coming up, which before PR practitioners do it manually, but now you have social media monitoring tools. If somebody mention your organization, you can be able to be alerted by the tools and so on. So all these artificial intelligence tools are impacting the practice of public relations. However, chatbots have not been looked at. Okay, nobody has paid attention to chatbots. Most of the attention is on social media monitoring tools, how to manage crisis and so on. So the trace of previous literature on the subject that built upon the problem. So the trace is about artificial intelligence, impact on PR practice. But then the problem is chatbots. And then that is where you will explain what do you do to address the gap, okay? After you highlight the problem, what do you do to address the gap? That is talking about maybe the methodological approach. Okay, the method that you are going to apply, what do you do to address the gap? So you need to clearly explain, highlight maybe lack of theoretical, empirical studies, so there is need for empirical studies. Then broader contribution and implication. What is the contribution of your study and implication for practice? Some journals, though some may not ask you to include this in the introduction section, but some journals or the reviewer, depending on the reviewers, some reviewers will want to see this in the introduction section. Then contribution of paper. Yeah, just as I mentioned, contribution. Contribution of paper, I mentioned it here, right? Contribution of paper can be theoretical, empirical, or policy relevant. Particularly for those using secondary data, your contribution mostly must have a policy relevant, okay? So you have to have this. The reviewers actually want to see what is the theoretical contribution. What are you going to contribute to theory? Relationship, for example, my own can be based on stakeholder relations theory, or there are so many other relationship maintenance theories, okay? So what new? Technology, of course, used to be the thing that mostly result to modification of theory. So what is the contribution? Empirical contribution, what in terms of empirical contribution, in terms of conducting an empirical research, and then policy relevant. So these contributions are very important and have to be in the introduction, but it depends, again, on the publisher. Some journals may only want maybe in the introduction section for you to just highlight the theoretical contribution. Some may want both theoretical, empirical, or the three, including policy. It depends on the quality of the journal and the reviewers. So this contribution demand may varies based on the journal. All right, so the other part is the literature review. So in the literature review section, basically some people refer to the literature review as theoretical framework. It goes beyond accounting of the past literatures. It's not just about, writing about past literatures. Literature review must be systematic, okay? It must be systematic, and it must be specific to the area that you are focusing your research on. So it's not just you are writing stories, but you have to clearly understand the article and explain it within the context of your study. So in some papers, particularly for papers, this section is referred to as theoretical framework, because maybe the paper is based on a framework. You want to use a particular framework, maybe to add new variables that you think may impact that theory. So that is why it's mostly called theoretical frameworks. And sometimes you use tables. It's good if you can use table to make comparison between studies. What has been done, what is missing, okay? So all this is also is good if you can do it, though it's very synthetic if you use tables. But it's good if you can use tables for comparison among studies, okay? Foundational text should be there. Original works that are maybe the foundational studies in the area need to be there. For example, in public relations, when you talk about public relations, there are studies, particularly there is excellence theory from Gruning. So mostly it is expected that, once something deals with relationship, public relations and relationship, that theory is more of a foundational theory. So there is some interest in seeing citations from that particular theory. So relevant or foundational texts mostly are important when you cite them. And of course, if you have case study, you are doing a case study, maybe content analysis and so on, you can also have your case study explained in the literature review section. So yeah, so as I mentioned, you know, literature review is written in chronological order. Although it's still argumentative, some may will depending on the nature of the research, they may not follow the chronological order, but chronological order is best where you start from the old, what has been done, until where the recent literature, okay, recent discussion in the area, what currently, that is from the old foundational studies to the current research trends. So chronological order is very important, and the paragraphs, you should have, each idea should be presented in one paragraph. And there should be link between one paragraph and another. That linkage is very important because most at times, you hardly get your literature review section to just pass a review without comments. Literature review section always get a bad reputation when it comes to review. Always get a bad reputation. So that is why it's good to really sit down and write it critically. Make sure ideas are explained in single paragraphs, and there should be link between one paragraph and the next one. And explain how you build upon your study from previous studies, okay? And current recent references are very important. They highlight awareness about development in your area. So you need to do that, and keywords that relate to your paper need to be cited in the literature review section. All right, then methodology. The methods, this is a critical section. In fact, to some extent, sometimes some researchers, when they firstly look at your, even reviewers, if they look at your introduction, they look at the methods before looking at literature review and so on. Mostly when they read the introduction, clearly see the problem, okay? Then the method should be of interest. How do you solve that problem? Do you follow the scientific way of solving the problem? So method is very important, okay? So the purpose of method is to what? To allow others to replicate what you have done. That is in order to test it, to follow the same process and test that study, okay? To see, yes, what you said is correct. So method helps in replication, okay? And even future studies or future researchers can follow the same process to conduct the same research. So replication, and then of course, to do future further researches, right? As I mentioned. Then it also allows other researchers to evaluate what you have done. To evaluate it to see whether the conclusions are valid, okay? Because method can lead to imperfect results or invalid results if you did not use them appropriately. So they helps in validation of your study to ensure that the conclusion reached are valid and to determine if the findings are applicable to other situations. Okay, a study can be conducted in Malaysia, and then it can be replicated in Ghana, in Indonesia, in UK. So, you know, it depends. So it allows for what? Replications. All right, so methods describe, that is the basic context of a method section. Okay, what are the requirements of a method section? It describes the context and the setting of the research. Where is the study conducted? Is it in Nigeria? Is it in South Africa? Is it in Saudi Arabia? Is it in Yemen? So the context, you have to explain it clearly in the method section because it's of interest. Then design of the study. Are you using qualitative study? Are you using quantitative study? Are you using mixed method, case study, panel data? So all this need to be explained. You know, your research design, sampling strategy. How do you get the samples? How many people do you pick from what population? Maybe the country or the particular state or the organization have 500 employees. So what sampling strategies do you use to pick the respondents? How many respondents are there? So all this have to be discussed in this section. Then describe the data collection instrument and procedures. How do you collect the data? Do you use survey questionnaire? Do you use questionnaires? What are the instruments? Where did you get the instrument for the survey questionnaires? And then if it is qualitative study, do you use the protocol, the research protocol, that is interview protocol or interview guide? How do you design it? And then for the panel data or the secondary data, which database do you get the data? So all this you need to explain the techniques, you know, and then the next part is analysis method. How do you do the analysis? Do you use NVivo, eViews, machine learning, SPSS? So all this you need to explain in the method section, okay? That is the importance of method section. Then results. You need to know that results are results. You should not tamper with your results. Mostly people are scared of results. I have experience, you know, with a couple of PhD students. So sometimes they used to be afraid of what their result will be. In fact, most of the times, PhD students, to some extent, they are always worried. Some, maybe I can say some, but a couple of students that I get to discuss with, they are afraid of what their finding will be. So they are always worried if their finding is not significant. Well, what will happen? Is their study no longer useful? So these are questions that are something that it's always in the mind of researchers, particularly for the PhD and master students. So results are results. You need to know that you cannot change results. Whatever your results are, either significant or not significant, that is what you have found. So you don't need to say that, oh, I must make my result to be significant. Okay, so once it is either supported or not supported, you just go with the findings. Findings are findings, okay? So you have to be objective in this particular stage, because this is where mostly once you are doing your research, when you reach this stage, there is always that tendency. The researcher will start thinking about the outcome may not be of interest to researchers or may make the study irrelevant. No, findings are findings, and you can still explain your findings, why you get that particular result, okay? You don't need to force yourself to make it significant. So present key findings with respect to this central research questions. What are your research questions? And what do you find? Particularly, for example, you hypothesize that there is a relationship between that is political participation of youth, political participation and social media. That is, maybe you hypothesize that there is a positive relationship between youth participating in politics and social media. But then your results shows that the relationship is not positive. That is, it's rejected. The hypothesis is rejected. So that is your finding. You report it, you know. So what your research question is, that is in terms of, for example, hypothesis particularly, you report it in the findings. Either it is accepted or rejected. So it's based on the central research questions, the hypothesis that you all develop in the study. So results you can see speaks to theoretical and empirical questions. What questions that you talk about in the particularly the problem, the hypothesis. And for qualitative papers, organize your result analytically and thematically. Yeah, so thematic analysis mostly for those using qualitative approach. So then results, these are just examples. What you report in your results section, a total of 41, for example, a total of 41 samples were analyzed. So you report what you analyzed, okay? You analyze them in your study, you analyze 45 samples, and then maybe part of it, maybe the salary of employees, that is looking at the demographic information. You can also explain the demographics. Based on your analysis, you realize that maybe in the organization, the maximum, the median salary is this, okay? That is the average salary they paid and to the employees. So you analyze the demographic information, and then hypothesis was not statistically significant. So hypothesis also, you also analyze your, that is, you look at the hypothesis and report it in the methodology. So methodology doesn't need to have any interpretation, okay? You only report the results as they are, how you analyze them in terms of the sample size, in terms of the demographic information, and then, of course, the hypothesis. You can use, very important in the results section, to use tables and figures. Tables help easily to explain your results. So you can share the relevant tables in the results section. Okay, and then you can use text to only explain points from the table and figures. You just explain the tables and figures. You don't need to bring in any new idea in the results section. The tables and figures will help you in explaining, just writing some few texts to explain those tables and figures. Okay, just like I highlighted in the first slide. And then, of course, most important data, and every table and figure should be mentioned in the text. Yes, that is it. If you are explaining the table, you are explaining table 2 or table 3, you should mention it in the text. Okay, don't just explain it under the text and assume that the reader have to connect the dots, that, okay, this guy is talking, this author is talking about this table. No, you have to mention the name of the table, because if you did not mention it, most readers will not sit down and start thinking or connecting the dots between your explanation and the table. So, for example, the results shows Gen Z prefer reading ebooks than hard copy. So the result is on table 3. You can see table 3. So you need to mention the table. Don't allow the reader to connect the dot by him or herself. In fact, as an editor, as a reviewer, even recently, I have to tell one of the authors that I was really sad with what the author did, allowing me to read the work, and then I have to all construct the dots. I have to just think by myself to relate it with some tables and with some of the component of the study. No explanation that is linking that will give you a clear linkage between the ideas in the work. So I was not really happy with that. And I have to tell the author, through the feedback that I give, that it is really a sad thing to go through this. Please, next time the person should avoid that. So that is a review. Sometimes when you are reviewing, even sometimes some people can be emotional because you read, you put a lot of time, you keep so many work to just help that person to improve the work. And then you find out that you have worked so hard for the person, but the person doesn't care, just leaving the work for you. So some reviewers may be critical in some instances, and it's because they are a little bit emotional as a result of maybe the work they are doing for you. All right, so the next section is the discussion section. It begin with summary of your main findings. What have you found? Okay, so you start by explaining. The study finds that, the relationship between maybe youths and social media is very important in the modern society. So you highlight some of the major findings in terms of even the demographics. The demographic information, and all the other findings that you have analyzed in the study. Okay, you need to start by providing a summary in your findings. Then you should answer the question stated in the introduction. That is the hypothesis that you have developed. In some cases, particularly for the quantitative study, you talk about hypothesis. So you should answer questions stated in the introduction. That is the problem that you have identified. So you have to now start talking about the problem in terms of the results and reflect on the broad story of themes of your results and how they tie together. That is the themes of your results, hypothesis, supported, rejected. All these are major themes, or in terms of the thematic analysis for qualitative studies. You have to relate it to the themes. And what you do there is what is in terms of what you discuss this relationship, this point that I'm discussing now, reflect on the broader story or themes of your research and show how it ties together, a reflection. And this reflection starts with what? The next slide, what I'm going to discuss. It talks about what? Relationship, looking at the relationship of findings with past studies in terms of what is similar. You now start building on what is the similarities between your study and previous ones, past studies. If there is, for example, in the area, if there is a past study that have been done in the area, what is the similarities between your study and previous studies? Okay, so that is when maybe some studies have been done in the area. Then what are the differences? What are the differences? So differences maybe these guys have do this and your studies found this, or the studies, you all do similar studies, but your own study rejected the hypothesis, while the past studies support the hypothesis. They said that it's a positive relationship, but your study found no relationship. Or maybe it is a new study, then of course your study differentiates from past studies by introducing this new concept, new ideas, okay? So that is it. Or can you explain the possible reason for this change? That is what makes the similarities or the differences. You need to also explain. So that means it's about understanding your study. When we talk about the discussion section, we are talking about the understanding your study. This is where we will be able to see whether you have really understand your research. Okay, trying to explain all this shows that you really understand your research. And particularly for the PhD students, your PhD, in your discussion, reviewers, your supervisors will be able to know whether you have really understand your study. In your discussion section, that is where you will be able to show that evidence that yes, I have understand my study. And for us that are also, we have already done it. Of course, this is where the reviewers will see how good we are in explaining our research. How can we be able to explain it to show what is new that we have contributed? So it's a critical section, very critical. So in this section, you need to discuss, again, policy and practice implication of your result. What is the usage of your result? Possible usage of findings in policy and practice. I believe those that are particularly using secondary data will find this very relatable. Okay, because this is where you will explain it. How will it change a policy in organizations? How they document or prepare their policies. So what policy implication does it have? And not only for them, and every study is expected, particularly business-related studies, to have this policy and practice implications for practitioners as well as for organizations. What new or how should organizations now start adapting their businesses to the target public? So you explain it in this section. And then relationship of finding to theory. Do the findings support, refute, or suggest modification? So this is particularly if you are using a theory in your study. Maybe, for example, let me give you an example with a media-related study. There is a theory in the media called agenda setting theory. So that agenda setting theory talks about the media, particularly the newspaper, set the agenda of discussion in a society, and then the radio start with take over that discussion and maybe share it with the public. That is discuss on the topic that the print media, the newspaper, have set. That is those stories that are in the front page of the newspaper. The radio stations mostly pick them and then they start discussing them. And then the television, maybe in the evening, have panel and discuss more on that issue. So that is agenda setting theory. It talks about the agenda setting, how the media set agenda in the society. What the society discuss mostly is set by the agenda. Agenda setting, that is by the media. So now with the advent of social media, everybody now, almost people can just publish stories. Maybe because they are passing by or the thing happen while they are at the location. So they may be the source of the story. And the story can go viral. So sometimes those stories even become the agenda setting of the day, because those people that share the story have a very wide reach. They have a large followership. So now that is something that can be studied, because now we are seeing a change. There is a rapid change in the way agendas is set in the public, in the society. So maybe I may decide to include the impact of social media. You know, how does social media impact agenda setting? So my study may be significant that, okay, social media has changed how agenda is set in the society. Now somebody, an individual who has large follower, can be able to draw the attention of the public to discuss on a topic in a day. Okay, so it can be, my finding can be what a modification to the theory, agenda setting theory, that now it's not only the media, the social media also have implication. So it's a modification. So relationship of finding to theory is very important. You have to show how your finding either has suggested modification to the theory or it's even debunked a theory entirely. It says that that theory doesn't work. So it debunks it, or it supports a theory. It shows that yes, this theory is relevant. Okay, like the theory of planned behavior. You can see it's a theory that mostly talks about that is the new adoption of new technology by individuals. So that theory has always been supported by recent researchers. So it depends on your findings. Your findings can either support a theory, debunk, refute a theory, or suggest modification of a theory. So combined discussion, sometimes some people do combination of discussion and conclusion at the end of the paper. They will just put conclusion, but it depends on the journal. High-ranking journals will ask you to present your paper. That is the discussion section in a different section and conclusion in a different section. All right, so conclusion addressed three things. It summarized the main findings and all of the concepts that you introduce in the main body of the text. So the main findings are summarized. Quickly, you summarize what are the main findings of your study. And then you talk about the limitation. What are the limitations of your study? Maybe you only use a qualitative approach. So why don't future researchers use quantitative? Maybe you only interview 5 employees. Then you can suggest future research to interview 10 employees in 5 organizations. So something like that. What is the limitation of your studies? Okay, proposing steps for future research and build on what you have, your paper have done. So you build on, you can also suggest other areas of research so that people can build on what you have done. Do not introduce any new concept in this area, okay? No introduction of a new concept. Sorry, let me just take a short water. All right. Sorry, I just take some water. All right, so references. So when we talk about references and citations, okay? Yeah, so references should be balanced and citations. Of course, you have to ensure that every citation in your text is included in the reference list. every citation in your text should be included in the reference list. So, for example, what I normally do is after I have finished writing my article, and I used to print out my reference list. Then I will pick the article. Sometimes I will print out the article. Sometimes I don't used to print out the article. And then I will be following the citation, in-text citations, and then I will be stroking out all the references based on the in-text citation. So it's something that actually requests time. It requests time. So I used to, every citation, I will look at it in my reference list. Then I will stroke it out to ensure that my citations and references are consistent. Okay. And of course, recent studies, you need to cite recent studies. It's very important, particularly studies not less than 10 years, 5 years is very important. Of course, you should not, it's not that you should leave past or foundational studies, but at least citations that are within 5 to 10 years are very important. That is where the reviewer will be able to know that your study is current. So make sure that your references are up to date. That is, latest references are much more than the past ones. All right, so in case of references, there are so many softwares now. It is, I believe most of you or almost everyone is familiar with this citation management softwares, Mendeley, EndNote, and Reference Manager. For myself, mostly I use Mendeley, and Mendeley is very useful. EndNote is also very good. My student is using EndNote. Okay, so this softwares help you in managing your citations while you are doing your research, writing your paper or writing your thesis. You will be able to manage your citations. You don't need to be writing the citations or putting the citations in your reference list. All these applications, once you have them, you will be able to, you will only use them. Sometimes you need to upload the article to the application, or you can download the article from the application and then you just cite it straight away. So it helps you to keep a database of your references, and of course you can change your reference style. That is even one good thing about it. You can target maybe a journal. If you get a rejection, you want to move to another journal, they may have a different reference style. So if you have used this software, it will be helpful to you, whereby you can change the setting so that the citation can be changed either from APA to Harvard or to another citation format. So that is why it is good, it is helpful. Because some people I know, they will say, oh, I don't like using Mendeley or EndNote because they used to scatter my, they scatter my reference list. Well, it is so, but when you come to publication, that is when you start submitting to the journals. In the case you get rejection and you want to move to another journal, you may find out that their citation style is entirely different. So you have to do another work of changing the citations and references. So if you use these softwares, all you need to do is just to change the reference format, and they will help you in changing everything. So that is additional advantage, apart from helping you to keep your references. Okay, there is also another section called acknowledgement, a place where you thank people and organizations who assist you in the research, but do not make contribution to deserve authorship. I believe we have talked about this right in the parts in the subsequent sections, where we talk about who to include as an author and who not to include. Those that have edited your work in terms of language, help you in collecting data, and all those people, you can acknowledge them if you like. It's not necessary, but you can acknowledgement here. You can acknowledge them here. Okay, statisticians and so on. You can acknowledge them in this section. And you can also use this section to declare any source of funding. Your research has been funded. You need to declare the funding, that yes, this study has been funded by my department, by my university, by the Ministry of Education. So you have to clearly declare the source of funding in the acknowledgement section. So yeah, this is good. The structure of the paper is a good start. Very good. When you get the structure of the paper, very well, you put it in a good shape, it's a good start. But that doesn't guarantee you a publication in a journal. That is not the guarantee, of course, because publication itself, it depends on the content again. What have you put in the work, and so many other things. And of course, you can see journal fit. The study, has it meet up with the journal, scope of the journal, and that is where choosing the journal. You remember we talked about choosing journal. So that is where it also comes into play. And that is why I recommend looking at your reference list first, because journal fit is very important. You can have the best content of a paper, content or formatting of a paper, but you get rejected because of journal fit. So you need to read instruction from the journal websites, all those instruction and information related to the journal fit. What is the scope of the journal? That will help you in meeting up. That is, maybe you get your paper to be sent out for review. And proofreading the manuscript is very important. You need to proofread your manuscript. So what impact factor journals are looking for? That is, the particularly top journals that are top in your area. Talk about Q1, you talk about Q2, yeah, to some extent Q3, Q4 are also good. I'm not saying they are not good, but when you want high quality and good contribution is to publish. If your research, your findings are very impactful, they are good findings, that is a new contribution, then you should target high-ranking journals in your area. And particularly PhD, PhD student, I will encourage you to please try and publish your study, particularly your main findings. Try and look for the best journals in your area and then publish, send out your work for publication. Don't just keep your article in the library, okay, and just allow it to be there. You need to publish it, let people know what you have done. Share your research idea with the research community. So they look for strong theoretical contribution. That is theoretical gap. What is the gap in the literature? Okay, so just like I shared a short example previously about agenda setting theory and the media and social media. Now social media is providing agenda. Agenda can be set from social media. So that can be a strong theoretical contribution because you are trying to contribute to theory. Or this, another example that I shared is related to my study on chatbots. It can be also a strong theoretical contribution because it is about what? It is about now chatbots are being used to build relationship, to establish relationship with stakeholders, with organization stakeholders, which has not been looked at in the literature. So it can be a strong theoretical contribution, right? Constructive practical need of the study. What is the practical need of the study? It's also very important. In my own case, the chatbots, there is a practical need, practically, not even theoretically. Let the organization practitioners, PR departments, know whether that relationship building is effective. Okay, so it's also something of practicality. Practically, you can see that is the need. Proper formatting of your manuscript. So we have talked about formatting previously. So proper formatting is very important when you are targeting these types of journals. Title should be succinct. We have talked about title, right? So you have to have a clear title, a good cover letter. Cover letter is very important. You need to have a good cover letter, okay? Because if you are submitting to these quality journals, you need to have a good cover letter where you have to a good cover letter where you have to write to the editor. You have to write to the editor that you are explaining about your research. In fact, cover letter mostly talks about your research. Okay, you explain about why that research should be published in that journal and what are the findings of your study. and how it relates to the journals and why the audience will find it interesting. So cover letter has to be something very interesting, okay, that attracts the editor to send out your paper for review, because you have to explain in the cover letter what is your research all about, why the editor should really send out the, that is, get the paper out, because it will help the audience, particularly the target audience of that journal, how helpful it will be to them. And yeah, so you explain even who you are. So a good cover letter is very important. So yeah, when we talk about this, we are talking about proofreading, right? Minimizing grammatical errors. So proofreading is very important. Effective result section. I have talked about this, right? Results. Results have to be clear. You have to have an effective result section. And then writing of result section, we have discussed it, right? Then citing the main scientific publication on which your work is based on. That is researches in your area of study. Major researches in your area of study. And keep self-citations to a minimum. Don't be citing your papers, all your papers in every of your research, okay? Please always cite, unless if it is necessary, only cite few studies in your area, okay? Only few studies that are relevant in your area, you should cite them. Don't cite all the studies in your area. That is all your research in your paper. And avoid excessive citation of publication from the same region. Yes, this is very important. Some researchers, and that is what I mostly tell my student. Initially, my student also like citing studies from his country. Mostly my student talk about his country and want to cite studies from his country. So I have to guide him very well to show him that no, you are not contributing to your country alone. Contribution, academic contribution should be to the body of knowledge. And when you are talking about body of knowledge, you are contributing to everybody, either someone in UK, someone in South Africa, someone in Philippines, someone in Saudi, someone in US, anywhere, any part of the world, Australia, Malaysia. So you have to read articles widely, cite authors from all regions, not your specific region. So that is where, you know, impact factor journals, in fact, they are looking for studies that have coverage. You are not just citing your region research. So if you know that you are citing your region research, so you should not even target this kind of journals. You have to target, you have to read widely. And particularly for PhD, you can't do a regional work. You have to read widely, read studies that are published in different parts of the world. You have to read widely. And that is what I mostly tell my student before his first defense. I told him that you have to at least have not less than 150 references within 6 months for the first round, that is first presentation defense. Okay, so that is the minimum before your defense, proposal defense. Okay, you have to have at least not less than 150 citations. If maybe your supervisor is a little bit flexible, the supervisor may allow you to have something close to 100 citations. So, and citations have to come from various regions. All right, so ethical considerations. Yeah, so this is also very important, ethical considerations. There are some ethical issues that you have to be aware as a researcher. They are very important and helpful. First one is what accurate reporting of your research result. You have to ensure that you did not tamper with your results. Make sure that your results as they are, once you analyze your result and see the finding, whether it is supported, rejected, you know, you have to you have to report it as it is. Don't tamper with the results, okay? Results that are not significant doesn't mean they are useless. they can still be explained. There should be a reason why they are not significant. If you are able to explain it, that's a good contribution. Okay, so accurate results are very important. Data retention and sharing is very important. You keep your data and in fact share it. For the impact factor journals that we just talked about in the last slide, they will ask you to share your data with them. Mostly they will ask you, can you share your data, so that those that are reviewing the work can also conduct or run the analysis. So data retention, always keep your data and also share it. It's very good to share data, particularly with journals, so that they can even post it when publishing your articles, so that other researchers can also download the data and run to see how you conduct your analysis. So data retention is very important. Don't say that, oh, my data is missing. I don't know where the data is, but I have already written my result. So if you do that, well, it depends how true it is. If it is true, of course, that's okay. But don't just say that you throw away the data or you hide it somewhere. So you need to share the data. Duplication and salami publication. This is also an ethical issue, okay? Sometimes you will see one study, if findings that can be published in one study being duplicated into 3 or 4 studies. So that is what is called salami publication, where you split a study into almost 4 or 5 papers, just one study. So you should avoid that, or duplication, changing the title of your article. You have published the article in one journal and then you change the title and maybe just change some structure and then submit it to another journal for publication. So that is unethical. You should not do it. And it can also cause a penalty on you. Once it is found and reported, you will be blacklisted and you may not be able to publish in some journals. Okay. Some journals will even ban you from publication in their own system. So you should avoid duplication and salami publication, multiple publication. Well, for a PhD thesis, there is so many opportunities because it's a very large study. So you can publish 2, 3 papers to 5 papers, or some even publish more than that, because you can publish your initial literature review. You can publish your initial literature review. And if you are developing maybe a model, a concept theory, you can also publish that. Maybe your final findings, you can also publish it. So there are so many segments of your research that you can publish it. If you use mixed method again, you can publish the qualitative part and then you publish the quantitative part. So that is why in PhD you have so many opportunities to publish more than 3 to 5 papers or even more. Because if you use mixed method and all what I have mentioned, it's a clear indication that you can publish every segment of your research. So that will not be considered as salami. But for maybe a study, for example, us that we are doing more of our now research, personal research, mostly we conduct a study to test a relationship, just like the chatbot relationship that I want to test. So it will be a salami production publication for me to split the study into 3 or 4 papers. Okay, so it's better I publish it as one study. So yeah, and plagiarism. That is why paraphrasing is very important. Please ensure you paraphrase any work that you cite. Paraphrasing is very important because your paper can be rejected if it has a very high percentage of plagiarism. Straight away, you will be rejected. Your article will be rejected. So ensure you do everything to paraphrase all works that you have cited. And then the next is conflict of interest. Conflict of interest should be declared, okay? Your study is funded by your organization, and maybe your organization will make some money from the study, and then you decided not to inform the public. That is even in the acknowledgement section. You decided to keep quiet, and of course the study maybe is of beneficial to your organization, or your organization have a specific interest in the findings. They want the findings to either be based on maybe a they want it to either be significant because it will add value, or they will have some benefit once the general research community know that they are significant. Your organization have something that may be of benefit to them. So you decide not to clearly state the conflict of interest. So that is also unethical. So if there is any conflict of interest or someone that will benefit from that research positively, or either get money or something, or an organization that will make some, gain some demands, make some demands from other publics or other organizations, you need to declare it. Conflict of interest must be declared. Like now we are in this this time of that is carbon print. We are having all this issue of high carbon print that is causing global warming. So many organizations that are into use of hydrocarbons, these oil and gas organizations, they are mostly funding researchers that are trying to, delink their business with the climate change that we are having. So such kind of studies, you need to declare the conflict of interest. You are funded by this organization so that it can be clear if the result is significant or insignificant. People will still have to know that, yes, it is, you have declared conflict of interest. So all these are form of conflict of interest that you need to declare. Protecting confidentiality. If you interview anyone, make sure that you protect their that is their identity. You should not mention their name, mention their organization. You have to do that. That is your responsibility. It is ethical not to disclose their information. And then if you also, names of organizations should not be there, of course, okay? So all things that will provide information of your respondents should be removed from that particular study. All right, rejection. So yeah, so these are just for you to prepare your mind, because this is something that, of course, it happens. You have to be ready for rejection. You can put all your effort, but then maybe reviewers may still decide to reject your paper. So don't feel that, oh, this paper has been rejected, so I'm down. It's painful. I know how it is. Your paper can spend 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, or even 6 months. And then at the end, they will send you a rejection. So it can be so painful. Maybe throughout the day, you will be unhappy. You will be in a bad mood. So just prepare your mind. If you prepare your mind, when the rejection comes, you will not feel that way. It's painful, but you have to learn and prepare for it. Okay? Once you prepare your mind, it's good to prepare your mind, because I know how it is. Sometimes it takes me days, weeks, to recover. Sometimes, particularly days, it can take me 2-3 days. If I remember that I got the rejection, I always feel sad after so many effort that I have put to prepare a paper. So it happens. Even the best authors, the best researchers will share their experience with you. They will tell you that they have been rejected on so many instances. So rejection is common and very important. Please always avoid Bell's list journals. They are not good journals. Journals that will tell you that if you submit your article today, in 3 days' time, it will be published. Those are not good journals. If you publish your article in those journals, it will impact your reputation as a researcher, because you want to grow a good profile. You want to work with good organizations, good institutions. So all institutions want their researchers to publish in quality journals. So that is why if you are publishing in predator journals, it shows that you are not a good researcher, and you are, of course, not ready to do a good work, a good research. So nobody will be willing to employ you or even promote you, because these journals don't have reputation. They are just Mickey Mouse journals. Within 3 days, you get publication. So avoid them. They are called predator journals. There is Bell's list. You can check Bell's list. Journals that are under predator journals, you will see them a lot. Even there are some journals that pretend to be high-ranking journals, but they are still predator because of the review process. They are unethical. So please avoid these journals, particularly PhD, and all of us is relevant to us, not only PhD, but for PhD students, you should not even start by publishing your articles in Predator journals. It's not a good start for you. Have a great patience. Yes, all this process, particularly writing, preparing an article, it takes time. So you have to be a little bit patient, and even rejection, okay? Take time to learn, particularly attending workshops. Workshops like this are relevant. That is, different researchers will share their experience with you. So it is a good learning opportunity. So take time to learn new methods and analytical. There are many tools out there, research tools. Also try and learn them, how to use them. So all these are very good for you. And then collaboration. Collaborate with your colleagues, your friends. I did my PhD. After my PhD, I have now started collaborating with my colleagues that we did PhD together. During our PhD, both of us were doing research in different fields. Though we are in the same department, but different area of study. But now we are collaborating, very interesting. So surprising, we are collaborating on many researches, doing many publications. And as well as colleagues that we work together, colleagues that I met, so collaboration is very important, okay? Make sure you collaborate with different researchers. It's also an evidence of showing that you are a good researcher if you are able to collaborate with many people. Never underestimate anyone's idea or learning process, okay? Yeah, so it's also very important. Don't say that, oh, this person is not good, I don't want to do research together with the person, or this person will not contribute. Never underestimate. You don't know what they are good at. Sometimes research, you may find it difficult to move in a particular stage, and that person that you underestimate may have a better idea on how to move forward. So that is why you don't underestimate. Collaboration is good. Your colleagues can help you in many places. So journals, they are from Q1 to Q4, they are all high quality journals, but particularly Q1, Q2. So you choose from this list, Q1 to Q4. Always check the list before you pick the journal. All right, that's my last slide. Thank you very much, everyone. And here are my references. Yeah, so here are.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Adamu, for your really great presentation, for bringing up all the important things that we have to consider while writing a journal article. And now I want to give you time for a kind of like short break, maybe. Do you want for some minute for a break?
Right, okay, so maybe I should take 2 minutes or 3.
2 minutes or 3 gonna be great. Okay. So all participants, we have after almost 2 hours presentation, we're gonna have around 2 to 3 minutes break, so we can do stretching or grab a water, and then we'll be back after 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, dear participant, we are back for our Q&A session, and we have maybe two ways for asking question. You can use like the raise hand sign to ask the question directly to Dr. Adamu, and then maybe the second option to ask question, you can use the chat box, write down your question, and then we can read from the chat box after that. And then Dr. Adamu, we already have our first question here by Silvana Shah. Please, Silvana, you can deliver your question.
Hi, hello, good morning, Dr. Adams Abbas. It is a nice presentation to opening this seminar. I have 3 questions for you. First question is, how do we know that something is a trending topic so that it can be published in a good quality journal? This is my first question. And second question is it always the trending topic that accepted in Scopus? That's my second question. And last question is, can you give us some tricks or maybe the main tricks or maybe short formulation how to be success to publish on Scopus as your experience that you have succeed to publish 6 publication on Scopus. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Silvana. Thank you for the questions. All right. So for your first question regarding the trending topic, okay. Trending topic particularly comes from the literature. When you read the literature, you will know where the trends, research trends is moving toward. Although there can be many research trends, okay, but you will be able to know where the research trends is moving toward. For example, let me take marketing, for example. So now, if you look at marketing aspect, traditional marketing approach was what? Basically through using billboards, advertisement, and so on the media, okay? Or maybe in the shop sales that targeting the sales people targeting customers. But now the trend is moving toward digital marketing. You can see we are talking about marketing on Instagram, on Facebook, and so on. So that is trends, okay? New trends of marketing. And then, of course, even the research trends is moving toward that direction. So when you are talking about new research trends, you can look at where does the researchers now focus more on, which area is new, and it is causing changes in the practice in that particular discipline. So that is where you get trending topics. So if you read leading journals in your area, you will be able to see the topics that are compelling, that are talking about new areas. So that is it for the first question. Then regarding the second question, well, Scopus journals, mostly if you want to get published in them, you need to have a very good research. Although, you know, Scopus, again, it's based on the ranking because there is Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4.
Yes, sure.
So if you want to target something like Q3, Q4, you can even, for example, Q4, you can get a literature review. Maybe you have done a literature review that you are going to submit for your proposal defense. You have reviewed the literature and you have identified a clear research gap, okay, which you think this research gap has not been addressed. So you can submit it to a Q3, Q4 Scopus journal. They will, most of them accept theoretical studies. Okay, so, but it has to be a very good literature review. You have reviewed the literature and you have identified that maybe this is the research gap. There are no much studies in this area, so there is need for research. So you review the literature and then you tell the readers that this is what you have found that is not been studied in this area. So it will be of interest. So Q3, Q4 journal will be happy to publish such kind of work. Okay, I have also done so, for example, especially in my early days I have done so, do some literature review to publish in Scopus, particularly Q3, Q4 level. And even recently, we published a particular research grant work that is literature review in such kind of approach. So you can use that one. But if you are targeting from Q2 to Q1, okay, then you need an empirical study. You need to do an empirical research. You need to collect data, use the appropriate research method, research approach, and then you can submit your work to the higher journals. That is from Q2 to Q1. Okay, you need to submit an empirical study. So basically, this is a kind of, tactics that you can use to approach different Scopus journals. For those that are lower ranked, you can even submit a literature review to them. And then for the higher ranking journals, particularly if it is an empirical study and you have collected the data from not less than 200 respondents, particularly not less than 200. So it's possible for you to get your research published. So the last question is how to Scopus. Can you get how to publish in Scopus? Is it?
Can you give us short tricks how to be successful to publish in Scopus?
Okay.
Short tricks.
Yeah. So short tricks is firstly, I will say proofreading is very important, because sometimes the language, if you did not send your article for proofreading, because even sometimes you will be surprised, even English speakers do get feedback on publish proofreading and so on. So proofreading is, necessary. You have to get it clear, because that is where your article will be readable. Someone will be able to read and get the idea, because reading it and getting your story, getting the idea of your research is key to now sending it forward. Then, of course, you have to have a clear title, very catchy, very attractive, a title that by just seeing it, it will attract somebody, invite someone to read it. Then, of course, the content, you have to have a clear content in the paper, content in terms of all the sections that are required. So I think these are a few points that are needed, okay, that can quickly get your paper to move to the next stage.
Okay, so according to your explanation, is it not always the training topic that accepted in Scopus, right? Not always training topic.
Trending topics, yes. Well,
normal topic, or maybe
yeah.
advanced topic, or maybe ordinary topic. It can be a success in Scopus, right?
Yes, it's not. Mostly, it's not only the trending topics. For example, you can do, like I said, literature review. Although literature review can be, of course, you identify an area that has not been researched, but there is also like some may call it not really thematic analysis. You review the literature and show number of publications maybe on a particular topic. You can review the literature and shows how people have been discussing about a particular topic. So such kind of conceptual review may not be about trending topics, but you only want to show research trends in the area. Maybe what method the researchers have been using in the area over the years. You analyze it, present it in a table, and discuss what are the implications of using the methodology and what methods are not being used in the area. So there are so many techniques to share research ideas with scholars. So yeah, sometimes it's not only the trending topics that get accepted.
Thank you for your explanation, sir.
Yeah. All right, you're welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Silvana, for your question. And then Dr. Adam already answered all those questions. And then I would like to add, because the topic is really broad, it also depends on the journal. So keep searching and to find which one fit in with your topic. And then you can also learn from reading those journals. So you will know which journal with specific topic, and then other journal with different topic. That might be good option also. And Dr. Adamu, we have the second person who want to ask question here. We would like to open mic for Mr. Fajar Gumilang Kosasi. Please, the time is yours.
Yes, terima kasih Ibu Ami. Kalau good morning, Mr. Dr. Adamu. My name is Fajar. I have several questions for you, but first, sorry, my English is not good enough. Hope you understand my question. How to select the right journal? You said the study your reference list. It means, is it our reference list or asking for someone for the reference list? That is the first question. And then first, for ranking of journals in your discipline. If you have some article, maybe I have some article, and then I go to the Simago, and then I type my area discipline, for example, human capital management. So there's so many journal choices in Simago from Q4, Q3, Q2, and Q1. And then what is the consideration for us to which one we have to choose? Because in the Q4 we have a good journal, Q3 we have good journal, and our article I think is good enough for the Q4 and until Q1. So what choose we have? And the last one, my question is, we have article, me and my co-promoter and promoter, and they asked me to submit in the Scopus. And then I choose the Q2 in Romania, and then there's a question for the article. Please provide at least 3 reviewers. There's email and postal address, affiliation, title, field of specialization. How can I answer this question? Because this is my first experience to submit in Scopus, and then we don't know who can be chosen in the 3 reviewers, because my co-promoter and promoter they don't give us the promoter, the reviewers. I think that's all, Bu Tami, for my question. I hope Dr. Adamus can understand my question. Thank you very much.
All right, Fajar, yeah, I got your question very clear. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's very clear. I got your question. You are clear and straight to the point. All right. So regarding your first question, Fajar, regarding reference list, the reason why I do recommend or suggest reference list as the first stage is because, you know, most of these journals have area of specialty or area of interest. They are not general journals. They are specific. They have the area that they only publish studies within. Okay, so reference list is a good start because it will tell you where studies that are related to the area. For example, let's take, for example, maybe your publication is on Islamic banking. So your journal, your article may be talking about Islamic banking and retirement or pension. You know how pensions are accepted by Islamic banking. So you should not submit your article to the Journal of what? Communication Management, because this is talking about communication, right? So that means it will not look at finance, Islamic banking. You have to submit your journal to a journal that focus on banking, particularly finance-related journals. So your reference list will be based on studies that are published in finance, particularly Islamic finance. So you will be able to identify the journal that will relate to that area of study, because most of the studies that you will cite will be based on Islamic finance or Islamic banking. So from there, you can be able to pick a relevant journal straight away. I hope, Fajar, you get the point, as in the authors that you are going to cite that will help you in building your research problem will definitely publish in the journals related to that area.
Yes.
So reference list will be based on those authors. So you look at the journals, the name of the journals where they have published. Pick those journals, go and check the profile, the information about the journals, and see whether it is strictly related to your study, the area of focus of the journal. Then from there you submit, because it's easier to do that than to just go on your own and just pick a journal that you don't even know whether people that are writing in your area publish paper there. If you publish it there, they are not your specific audience. Because your study is not just to publish, but you also want people that are doing research in that area to know what you have found. So you have a target audience. You must know, you want readers. So, and readers can only come from the right journal. Okay, so that is why it's good to start with, that is a suggestion, though, to start with the reference okay?
list.
Yeah. Then the second question is about Shimago consideration.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you go to Shimago and maybe type the discipline area, that is your area of study or discipline, and then the list of journals come up. Again, it is not all journals that may be relevant to your research. Even though they are from the same discipline, they may not be relevant, or they may not be the right journals for that research. So you have to go further with your search, which means if you want to publish in Q3 or Q2, you have to now open the journal and then read their scope. What is the scope of the journal? Does it capture your area? Because if it does not capture your area, you will submit, they will reject the article, even though it is within the discipline. Because their audience, those that read the journal, are not interested in that particular maybe research. So there is no need of publishing it in the journals. Okay, so you have to go further a bit to read the scope of those journals before you finally decide on the appropriate journal. Then the third question is on sending a reviewer name.
Yes.
Yeah, so mostly some journals do ask you to provide a reviewer. Yeah. And at times you will provide the name of the reviewer, they will search and even reject it. Do happens, I also once sent some reviewers, but they decided to take other reviewers. Yes. Okay, so in this case, it's good to talk to colleagues. You can ask maybe your collaborators, do they have colleagues that can review the article and they have published in the area? Because the editor will not just send the article, but he will also look at the profile of those that you nominated. Do they have that capability to review the article? Do they have research experience? Have they published in the area? So you need to look for at least the 3 people that they asked for, okay, that are that have published, they have a publication record first, and then maybe they have published within the area. So that may be an opportunity for them to send the article to them. I think it's fine. Some journals do that because nowadays it's difficult to get reviewers, particularly if the journal is just growing. Growing journals struggle to get reviewers. So it's common practice nowadays by many journals.
So is it okay for 3 reviewers from the same university? For example, you have to give the reviewer professor or PhD. We have 3 reviewers, or we have 3 professors in the same area. For example, I want to submit my article about tourism in my university. We have 3 professors or PhD in the area of tourism. Is it okay if we choose that 3 reviewers from our university?
Yeah, Fajar, to be honest with you, a serious editor will not accept that. To be honest with you, yeah. a serious reviewer, editor, a serious editor will definitely want
university
reviewers that are not even from your university.
Oh,
yes. So you have to better look for reviewers that are from other universities. Yeah, but again, about the ranking, it doesn't matter whether it's a professor or a senior lecturer.
Okay.
Or a lecturer. What they want to see is evidence of research. If that person has published some papers and the person maybe has right in the area, or at least have a strong publication, record. So that is a good evidence that the person can review the article. But don't include the name of those that you are working in the same place with.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Adamu, for your question. Terima kasih buat kami.
All right, okay, welcome, Fajar.
You are very welcome, Pak Fajar, and we are still welcome for more questions from participants. Please do raise hand, and I'm very sorry because I just someone informed me from the participants that you couldn't type anything in the chat box, so we only have one option to deliver the question. Only raise hand and then directly ask your question to Dr. Adamu here. Very sorry about that. And maybe while waiting, hopefully we still have more questions from participants. If not, I'll go with my question, Dr. Adamu. I have two actually. Here I'm thinking about the Salami publication that you wrote before, and then I've read somewhere else that we cannot do chunking from our result. But I also did research with published work. So like from our large research, we published some article. What do you think the specific difference you can say by avoiding doing the Salami publication and then compared to from one research, we publish more than one article? What do you think about that?
All right, thank you, Adi. My experience, although I have not, I didn't publish a Salami, but I know, a study that is considered as Salami is a study where you have maybe you conduct a study. For example, first example that I will give is maybe publishing the same study in different journals. For example, some people do that. They will attend a conference and there will be a conference proceeding that want a full paper. They will submit the article. And then again, maybe there is a journal publication. They will just change the title and then submit it to another journal. So that is automatically Salami because it's the same study. You just modify the title and then submit to two different sources. So I believe that is unethical, right? I believe it should be clear because it's the same study. Then the second aspect, again, that is considered Salami is where you conduct a study and instead of publishing the entire study, maybe let me use maybe a quantitative study. Maybe you have 2 or 3 variables that you examined. Okay, maybe 3 variables. Maybe you just use 3 variables. But instead of maybe publishing, you publish the study, and then that is, of course, your finding. You end up now again running the data, using it as moderator or as a mediator, and then publish the same findings, the same study, okay, using the same data. So that can also be considered Salami, or you split the framework into 2. Some people split frameworks that can be published in one study into 2 or 3 studies. Okay, they will publish 3 or 2 variables, then they will publish another 1 or 3 or 2 variables differently. So that is also, Salami, because you are splitting a study that can be published at once into 2 or 3 different papers. So these are some of, the key things related to Salami. And for qualitative studies also, there is that high possibility of Salami because it's very easy, not really easy, I can say. But in qualitative study, you can also do that, reporting this aspect of the interview and reporting another aspect of the interview that can be done at once. So Salami is just given bit by bit of the study instead of giving the chunk of the study at once for the researchers to read here.
Okay, that's so interesting. Thank you for that explanation, Dr. Adamu. And then we have one question come from the chat box. I think now it's open that everyone can write something in the chat box. How we can avoid discontinued publication? What's that Q1, Q2? I think Ibu Silvana, maybe
yeah. All right. So thank you. Okay.
Kind of like, if I can say, if you don't mind, the beginner in this kind of like. Please, Dr. Adamu.
Okay, I shall go, right? Yeah. So Silvana, yeah, the question is discontinued publication. Discontinued, mostly publications that are, some of them are discontinued by Scopus. For example, Scopus used to discontinue some journals, and then yet the journals may continue to exist to publish. So the best way to avoid them, as you have mentioned, is just to search. Before submitting your journal, your article, you need to conduct a search using some database, particularly Schemago. Schemago has been, highly been respected nowadays. Is the best, one of the best database to search the quality of journal. So you can go to Schemago to see whether that particular journal is still indexed by Scopus. Because if it is not indexed by Scopus, mostly Schemago will even show you straight away that this journal is discontinued. So my advice is always to check on several databases. You can go to Scopus database, you can go to Schemago, check the journal. And it's very important to avoid these journals, discontinued journals, because they are mostly under Bill's list. Once a journal is discontinued, then it is mostly considered Bill's list. So just quickly avoid it. Don't publish in those journals. Only the journals that have reputation and that are indexed in good database that you should target. So yeah, and Q1, Q2 is the ranking. Based on quartile, ranking based on years of, that is the duration of that journal, how frequently they publish articles, the years they have spent, existing, the quality of publication, citations. So all this lead to the ranking, ranking of the journal. So Q1 is considered the quartile is high, Q2 and Q3. So it's based on how long the journal is, and then the rate of publications and citations. That is how the journals are ranked. So if the journal is not getting a good citations, you can see them, maybe it may be Q1 this year, next year it will go down to become Q2. If they stop performing in terms of getting citation, getting publication, and so on. So they also drop. So that is why sometimes choosing a journal is also a little bit difficult, because it can be Q1, you are happy, you send your article, the next year you check, it has dropped to Q2. Then you feel so sad sometimes.
Yeah, I feel that way as well. Thank you, Dr. Adamu. And we have the next questions come from Mr. Subroto. Maybe direct message to me to deliver the question. The first question from Pak Subroto is, does the new area of research application include specification on your presentation, such as an organization or a particular area? Did you get the question?
Sorry, come again.
I will repeat once again. Actually, I'm trying to understand the question as well. Does the new area of research application include specification on your presentation, such as an organization or a particular area?
Okay, maybe, yeah. Let me answer the question this way. So I think it depends on the nature of your research. Your research maybe can be organizational study for those that are studying related to organizational behavior. Okay, so it can be an organizational study that focus on organizations. Want to examine maybe how a particular technology is impacting organization, just like the example I gave with chatbots. So how is it impacting relationship buildings in organization? So it can be an organizational study, because if you conduct such kind of study, you are impacting, it may have impact or implications on organizations, or it can be maybe to the general community. Just like I gave an example with students, youth and political participation. So you can see you are not looking at organization, you are looking at more of a society-based study. So you want to know, how do youth participate in politics? And Gen Z, as we know, are different form of generation. Their needs, their way of doing these things is entirely different from the millennials and baby boomers and so on. So Gen Z are the ones that are born in this internet age. They do everything on the internet. They search for product services on the internet, particularly social media. Yesterday, I was having class with my student, a digital PR class. We were discussing about social media. They were asking me, sir, if you want to search for a product, where did you go to? I told them, mostly I do my searching on Google. I'll go to the website of the product and then check the information. Then they told me that, no, that is not what they used to do. They will go to the social media page of the product and see comments and see the product first before they make decision. So you can see there is an entire generational difference, right? So we need to know how they behave. What are their needs, how they behave. So let me go back to the question, youth participation on social media. So how do they participate in terms of what politics? So such kind of study that looks at youths and their participation in politics is a societal related study. So you are looking at the society, not organization. So your study can be based on organizations, yes, organization behavior, or the society. You can look at a societal issue depending on the area, and then of course it will be irrelevant, very relevant to the research community. So different dimensions. There are several dimensions that you can look at research, not only organizational. So I believe maybe it may be helpful, right? My response. Adi?
I think you touched the answer of the question. I'm not that clear, but I guess I hope hopefully Pak Subroto here can hear the answer as well. So yeah, I think we can move to the next question from him still. Is there any effective way to describe the research framework qualitatively or quantitatively? So I think more to the methodology section. Do you have?
Sorry, come again. Sorry, I didn't.
Okay, is there any effective way to describe the research framework quantitatively or qualitatively in the manuscript?
Okay. Yes, I think, the research framework has to be clearly explained. So, for example, if you are using a quantitative study, sometimes that research framework, the framework is mostly called, some call it theoretical framework. It comes out from the theory that you are using. For example, the theory of plant behavior. You can see it's a theory that have many variables. It talks about intention to use, passive usefulness, right? Passive, how do you perceive a new technology useful? Or passive benefit, what benefit am I going to get from using the new technology? And then intention to buy the technology, okay? So these are variables. So you need to explain them in the theoretical framework. These are variables in a framework, okay? So in your literature review section, you need to explain them individually. Individually in the literature review section, you need to explain all these variables. So that is the proper way, okay? For example, if you are using the theory of planned, as I'm explaining, theory of planned behavior term, you can start by explaining the theory first, then you now move into explain the variables, individual variables in the theory. You explain about the theory of the first variable, which is passive usefulness of the maybe technology, then passive benefit of the technology, then intention to use that technology. So you can see you explain them one after the other. So that is the best way of writing your theoretical framework, that is building your framework. Okay, you start by explaining the theory, then you explain the variables. And in some cases, some people build a framework, not really from a theory. They will just pick the variables and develop a framework. So in that case, you have to start from a general angle. Because if you are building a framework, that means you need to go back, you need to be broad. Your literature section will be very broad. You have to start explaining broadly, introducing the readers to the research area. For example, let's assume, for example, let me give you an example with my own case. Maybe I also built a framework, and what I did was, is related to crisis communication. There is an area of study called crisis communication. So to build the framework, I start by explaining the literature, the broad literature of crisis communication. Then I go into explaining, zoom in into explaining other areas that have not been explored in crisis communication. Then I explain the variables. You know, it's something that you have to be broad if you are to develop a framework. But if it is a theoretical framework, is from the theory that you pick the variables. So it's the same for qualitative study. This is for quantitative study, but it's also the same for qualitative study, because you have to explain the theory first, okay? And then for qualitative study, that there is less use of theory mostly, because you develop the theory at the end of your study. But again, you also have to explain some of the theoretical underpinnings of why you are doing the study. So explain them in the literature review section.
Okay, and we have one more question from Pak Subroto here. The last one is, can bibliometric be considered as a research methodology or as a support for the research?
Yeah. So I think it can be considered as, I don't think it should be a research methodology, right? Because bibliography is more of like
tools,
yeah. So I don't think it can be considered actually as a research methodology. It's just a tool, you know. So it's mostly just part of a component, it's aspect of your study. It's more like it's part of the structure of the study. So it can be considered as actually as a method.
Yes, that's right. I think we name it several name for it. Is systematic literature review, just literature review, and then conceptual framework review, because it's kind of like slightly different, but you have to check. And maybe just to add to what you've said, we can also talk to the editor to confirm, like, is it possible to give this kind of like article, because I did once, and then the editor said that, oh, this is not literature review, what you're doing is conceptual review, so slightly different, but they're gonna let you know the typical of your writing. So it may be another option how to like make sure what you're doing with your article. And then yeah, I can say the bibliometric, it's not the methodology, but part of the tools that you usually being used in kind of like literature review article.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
And we have one more question, and then we have two papers or pieces of writing that we can see together here as the example. And then really grateful for the two selected or the participant that share the writing that we can have feedback directly here from Mr. Ajamu. So our last question before we move to the writing is come from Ibu Ella, Miss Ella here, asking about if you can say what are the important things to be considered in writing literature review research?
Yeah. All right. Thank you for the question. I think, when you talk about literature review, sometimes, because I also have the same experience, sometimes you start your research by literature review. You start writing your research from literature review, particularly for researchers, early career researchers, or PhD, you are in your PhD journey, those that are in the PhD journey. It's good. Literature review is very important, and that is where your research will start, because sometimes you start the research, you are looking for research gap. So when you are looking for research gap, you are reviewing literature. You don't know what is the problem statement, which is the backbone of your first, that is the chapter 1. So literature review is important, and it is what will help in building and identifying your research problem and your chapter 1. So that is why you have to give it all the attention that is needed when doing it. It needs your complete attention, because that is where you are going to build your research gap. That is where you are going to identify your research gap. So the techniques of writing a literature review are two, and I have mentioned some just a few minutes ago. If you are using a theory, if you are maybe developing your research based on a particular theory, then your literature review have to start from that particular theory. Okay, you have to start reviewing the literature by discussing on the theory, what the theory is, and why the theory is very important to the field. Then you move into discussing key variables in the theory. What are the variables that the theory has proposed? If it is an empirical theory, because some theories are conceptual, some theories don't have variables. But if it is an empirical theory, okay, so then you need to discuss on the variables, and then you now pick the variables that you may not use all the variables. You want to introduce new variables, so you have to explain why you are not going to use some of the variables in the theory and why you are introducing a new variable to the theory. So that is normally how you build your literature review. But this literature review that I'm talking of is based on an article, because article is different from thesis writing. If it is thesis writing, you have to start by explaining that it's broader. When you are doing your PhD or master's, your literature review section is broader than that of an article. An article is more specific. You go straight to the main or major or the important literature that is relevant to your research problem. You don't go to the broad literature. So for PhD thesis, master's thesis, you have to go broad. You have to start by explaining your area of study. That is, what is the discipline, what have been done about the discipline, what are the features of the discipline. You have to explain all that. But if it is for your article, you go straight away. If it is a theory that you are using as variable, you have to start by explaining the theory, and then you move on to discussing about the variables. And if you are constructing a particular, let's say, for example, a particular framework, then you also briefly explain the theory that supports the building of that, the literature, that support the building of that variable. So basically, these are the two ways. If you are using it for the article purpose, these are the two ways that you can start by writing your literature review articles.
Thank you, Dr. Adamu, for your answer. And I think I'll check the chat box for a while. Oh, we still have a question. So which one do you prefer? We go to the writing at the moment, or do you want to answer the question from the chat box? Because
Okay, from the chat box. Okay. Yeah, so I think let's answer the questions, right? Before we move on to the articles. Yeah.
Sure.
All right, so I can see two questions, right?
Yep.
Okay, so the first one said there are many scientific databases, but why do so many people favor Scopus? What makes Scopus special? Well, because Scopus is actually reputable. They don't used to index journals that are under Bell's list or blacklisted journals, or journals that publish, or predator journals, as some people call them. So Scopus mostly index journals that are credible, that are ethical, and that support ethical publication. So that is why people always refer to Scopus, actually, because that reputation is very important. Ethical, publishing research that will be beneficial to the society, that is trustworthy. So it has that reputation, actually. And if a journal is, even if they have indexed a journal and maybe after a year they realize that that journal is doing some ethical publishing, they will remove it. It will be discontinued. And that is actually what journals don't like. So it has that reputation. Has the reputation for indexing quality journals. So that is my response to that. Silvana, all right. Yeah. Then the next question is, please give your opinion if I want to make a research based on literature review of some articles from the authors. How big a chance to accept in Scopus? Well, literature review based on some articles from authors, literature review is about really justifying why that is what has been done in the area. It's about explaining what has been done in your research area. So I don't know how few you mean by some, or I mean by some authors, because you can't just pick 1 or 2 or 5 authors and just say that I'm building my literature review based on these 5, 10, or 15 authors. It has to be exhaustive. That is telling the reader what has been done in your area. So you have to explain, you have to go further. If the few articles that you are talking about, or some of the articles, are sufficient enough to explain that field of study, then of course you can. Maybe if they are strong or pioneer studies in the area, and they have also touched about current trends in the area, then of course it's okay. But I don't think just picking few authors will be sufficient to build a strong literature review and to submit to a journal that is indexed, especially in Scopus ranking that is good, a good ranking. So you have to you have to tell a very good story. You have to go a little bit broad. You have to demonstrate that you know what is happening in your area of study. So a little bit broader will be good. Yeah.
Okay. Now we can continue to the giving feedback for one of the sample of writing. I would like to ask maybe Mbak Idam can help to share screen for the writing. Okay, so now we have from Silvana here already finished the, I think, full paper, or I don't know if this is kind of like manuscript she gave. And then would you like to, maybe like all of us can read quickly, maybe 2 to 3 minutes, and then we can do kind of like peer review all together.
Yeah, it's good.
let me know if you want us to like go to the another section from this writing. Okay.
Okay, all right. All right, we can move on to the next. All right, I think we can move. Okay, we can go on. All right, we can go down. All right, we can go down. Okay, we can go down. Okay, go down.
Dr. Adamu, and we don't have to finish the whole pages, I think, because like it is kind of like the example. So from if you think that's enough to give like you got some feedback already, that's maybe also acceptable to like enough from this writing.
Yeah. All right. So yeah,
Because I can see like we haven't got like half of the paper yet.
Okay, I can give feedback so far from what I see. Yeah. So you said I give the feedback, or you want to go down again?
Sorry, what are you saying?
I said, do you want to go down, or you want me to give the feedback now? Some feedback based on what I have.
Yeah. Sure, you can start.
Okay. All right. So maybe you can go to the front, the first page. Yeah. So well, my first feedback is regarding the title. The title is a little bit long. It's a bit long. Microeconomic development and microeconomic effect in determinants of consumer goods industry capital structure listed on the Indonesian stock exchange. So I think to some extent I'm sorry, I understand, but I think the title need to be a little bit particularly maybe rearranged, something like maybe the determinants of good industry. It can be from where the determinants is written. Okay, the article can be the determinants of consumer goods. Okay, industry structure, that is the determinant, or the impact of consumer goods on economic, the impact of consumer goods on microeconomic development and microeconomic effect. I think something like that would be better. The impact or the effect of consumer goods on economic development and economic effect. I think that should be clear, right? Easy to really understand as in you are trying to look at effect of consumer good on economic, microeconomic development and microeconomic, right? On maybe or in I think the capital structure listed, maybe it may not be that relevant at this stage. You can just have the Indonesian Stock Exchange. So that is my, quick suggestion on the title. Then regarding the keywords, at least 5 keywords will be better than 3. 5 keywords, if you can have 5 keywords, something like consumer goods can also be, I believe maybe you have discussed on consumer goods a lot in the literature review. So maybe you can have consumer goods as well, because I can see it's a critical factor in the study. You want to see how it helps in building the microeconomic development and macro and micro, right? Then regarding the abstract, I think a little bit explanation on the method that you have used. It's not there. Is it my eyes, or maybe it's clear, right? The method has not been highlighted. So maybe, though I haven't read the paper complete, but I believe it should be a conceptual empirical study, because you are looking at effect of these goods, consumer goods. So I believe it should be an empirical study. So maybe you are explaining the methodology a little bit will be good in the abstract. So can we go down again? Yeah, so the introduction, quite good, a good argument. You have, of course, presented a good argument. But again, any reviewer or editor, once they look at it without literature support, because this is where you establish that there is a problem. You want to build the research, you want to argue about your research problem to show that, yes, it is relevant. So you cannot argue based on your own intuitions or ideas or notions, based on the ideas that you have to bring it. Your research is built based on what previous studies have done. So I think there is lack of literature support here to really know that this is something that comes out of the literature. Because, research gap has to be, or research problem has to be from the literature. You get it from the literature. Like I used to tell my students, when my student started studying, the student was telling me so many ideas about research. In my country, there is this, they have not done this. I want to study it. Then I tell my student, no, you don't pick research gap from your pocket. It's not something that you just have in your pocket. You just bring it and say, okay, this is what I want to do. You have to read and bring it out from the literature. It's in the literature that you will argue that there is the problem. And the introduction part is more like your literature, like your problem statement. If you look at thesis, okay, it's the problem, where you built the problem. So you need to talk about what has been done and what is missing. Okay, so here, very good arguments, but you need to provide support, literature support. For example, if you look at this, the third, Adi, can you highlight the third paragraph? Yeah, okay, just the first two sentences. The first two sentences. I think you highlighted two sentences. In fact, even the third one can also be relevant. So despite the fact, you can see what the sentence said, despite the fact that much research has been conducted on capital structures that resulted anyway. So what are the much researches that you are arguing on? You need to, even if you are not going to explain, because some editors, some reviewers will ask you, what do the research found? What are they? So you need to cite those research. How many, what are the names? As in, at least even if it is the name of the authors and the year of publication, you need to cite them. And then in general, these studies have not yielded consistent result. So these studies, by mentioning these studies, that means you have already read in the literature. Okay, so but you forget to cite them. So these studies, you want the reviewer to now go back and read the studies. How can they find the studies? Where can they find them? So it is by citing them, then the reviewer can quickly maybe go and search them and read and see if, yes, what you are saying is correct. Okay, and some may even ask you, why don't you explain what they have yielded and what is the inconsistency? Okay, so go down again. All right, so here is also another, you can see some citations here, which is good. It's good to see that you have provided some citations, but again, a reviewer, as a reviewer, once you look at this, you will also ask the researcher, is this actually a recent study? Is it something that is the problem? Is it drawn from current literature? Because you can see, I think the latest literature or citation in this section is 2009, which now we are in 2022. So which means almost a decade. You are citing literature of a decade. So building a research gap based on a decade, studies that have been done decades ago, is just like almost 2 decades, I mean, right? Not only even 1 decade. Oh, yeah, 1 decade. So there are so many changes that have occurred. I believe even the research gap, probably some people may have already published research work on it, if the research gap is built based on the 2009 literature. Okay, but I believe from the discussion up that we have saw, you have strong justification, but you haven't cited the latest studies. So you need to do that. But if not, people will assume that your study is based on, maybe a research gap that have already been filled, because 2009, a decade ago, definitely we have already moved on. There are so many changes that have happened beyond what is highlighted. So yeah, I think that is it. Let's go down again. Down, let's go. I think I have. Yeah, so I think all this in terms of, okay, that's good. All right, so here is the literature review section. What I will suggest to make it a little bit clearer, it's better you start by, instead of saying theoretical, empirical review and hypothesis development. This will be a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Hello? Okay, so it's like, all right, so here I think it's better you have a literature, maybe first section should be literature review. Okay, you delete this theoretical, empirical, and hypothesis development and just put literature review. That will be better. Adi, can you go down a bit? Go down a bit. Go down. All right, so from this section, effect of profitability on customer or on capital structure, sorry, I say customer. All right, so from here you can now have a title, hypothesis development. You want to develop the hypothesis. So that is where you now start your hypothesis development. And as you can see, you have already started postulating your hypothesis. Profitability has a negative effect on capital structure. So that means your clarity of sections in your paper. You have the literature review section, and then of course a subsection is hypothesis development, where you discuss the hypothesis. Yeah, so I think Adi, so far these are my comment on this paper.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Adamu. And then, yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Adamu.
All right, you're welcome.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I have like more to maybe tips, because from the literature review, maybe you heard the term like avoid to do like shopping list literature review, like you only drag from the reference and then what's the argument from the reference. That's also very important to be highlighted in your writing. And then I found some incomplete sentences. For example, Jensen and Millie present different viewpoint of what, but it's just like full stop. So like how you bring the citation, like what do you want to say, it's very important. Keep asking the question, like what are you going to say to your reader, and then why they have to know that, and then so what from what you said. It's kind of like maybe the formulation I keep use while writing and may be useful for you. So when you provide a citation and then continued by like why do I have to know that citation? What's the important? And then so what from that citation? It will like develop your argument while you're providing the information from for your reader. Hopefully
Yes.
that also helpful. Thank you, Silvana.
Thank you, Miss Adi.
No worries. Good luck with the papers, and I'm looking forward to read your papers like submitted to one of the journal or as a full manuscript to us also. And I don't have any other writing sample from the participant, but we also like have limited time. We are at the end of our session at the moment, Dr. Adamu and all participants. So I think it is still possible if the participant still have question. We still have like 5 to 10 minutes, but if there are no more question, I think I would like to close this session. Is there any more other question from participant? Okay, I think there are no more question. And yes, Dr. Adamu, do you want to say something?
No, I saw it's like one question. How Oh, okay. This is regarding the paper, right? How if we jump to result and conclusion? All right, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah, I think we don't have like much time to finish the whole part of the writing, but I will try to contact to Dr. Adamu again next session to talk about like deep writing and or maybe giving feedback to the participants' manuscript after this. And so if there are no more questions from participants, I would like to ask Dr. Adamo to give closing statement from for this session, the writing workshop. Please, Dr. Adamo, the time is yours.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Adi. And thank you all participants, those that asked questions, those that posted their comments and questions in the chat box. Thank you all. It's quite an interesting and engaging session. I'm really happy to meet you all, and this is an interesting conference. It's good to be part of this great conference. Very excited to be part of it. And thank you, Adi, for the invitation. And I wish us a fruitful deliberation throughout the conference time. So thank you all. Yeah, and see you soon.
Thank you, Dr. Adamu. My pleasure. We are really grateful to have you here. And then we spent more than 3 hours for this session already. Wow, that's really long. And then I think this is a great session for everyone here. I couldn't say more what we get from Dr. Adamu here based on the presentation and also the discussion, question and answer, and also trying to see the sample of writing from participant. So hopefully that gonna complete your understanding about writing manuscript, and then looking forward to read your full paper or manuscript. And for this conference, international conference on management, business, and accounting. So feel free to send your full manuscript to us to be followed up, sent to the journals that we are collaborate with. And then this afternoon, Dr. Adamo, please, we are very welcome to have you in the opening ceremony for this the conference. It's the same link like which I sent to you. We're gonna have like official ceremony for the conference at 1 p.m. So that's the end for our session today. I'll see you again in the main room for the opening ceremony. I'll see you. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Salam.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Dr. Adamu Pakar.
I'll talk to you soon, Dr. Adamu.
Terima kasih. Thank you semua. Adam.
This is the first step of a smile. The steps that taken together towards the same goal. We walk with determination to reach every corner of the country. Now and then, BRI, Pegadaian, and PNM strides on. Together, we bring changes as one entity. Changes that brings you closer to us. Paving the ways of progress everyone aims for, and bringing all their needs in one hand. This is our answer that makes everyone grow even bigger and brings meaning to everyone's smile.
Game terus. Sepeda terus. Daster terus.
Mas, bobanya satu ya.
Boba terus. Terus. Kalau terus-terusan boros, kapan nabungnya? Yuk mulai nabung. tabungan emas di Pegadaian Digital aja ada promo mulai nabung hingga akhir tahun. Top up-nya bisa pakai kode promo gajian Mas yang ada di setiap bulannya. Kamu bisa dapat diskon hingga Rp250.000. Download aplikasi Pegadaian Digital dan mulai nabung dari sekarang. Yuk mulai nabung emas sekarang untuk masa depan yang cemerlang. Nabung terus ya!
Dimanapun kita berada, kita semua sama.